living things, you know. So then we have to ask ourselves, you know, why are we following these individuals that are driving on very fancy cars, helicopters, while we are suffering? Why are we giving them, you know, if you look at the story of Pastor Mackenzie, there's a lady that left her job with one of the biggest airlines and sold everything and gave everything to this pastor that now has been murdering hundreds of people. So we just have to, we have to question ourselves, and you know, Draze also can speak about this because Draze is a man of faith.
Before Draze comes
Yeah.
in, before Draze
Okay,
comes
go
in,
ahead.
let me say this. I think there's always, you know, some people make memes and stuff. So I think you've seen this meme that goes around where a person came and handed the Bible, and I think they took title deeds or they took land.
Mm-hmm.
So religion is the opium of the masses, you know, and if and when effectively used, it was actually effectively used during the emergency in 1952. It was effectively used, and also tradition has it, you know, like even over here, how when the white man came here, what they did, you know, to the natives, you know, they bring this disease and then they show them that they're the only ones who can.
They're the only ones who can cure
Who
it.
can cure them,
Yeah.
you know. I think it was this guy, was it Colombo? This guy who supposedly discovered the Americas or whatever. You know,
Colombo.
he knew exactly, I think, when there was going to be the full moon or the half moon or whatever moon, and in 2 weeks, and he said, in 2 weeks I'll be back here because I'll show you that my God is even stronger. But he knew how to read he could tell, you know, like in a few weeks or whatever. Yeah, he could tell that within a certain time this was going to happen. It's going to be a red moon or whatever it is, and that in that way, these guys, you know, they ended up giving them food and supplies and stuff. So I think religion has been used to oppress, and I'll leave it at that, especially in Kenya.
Yes, and of course this is go ahead, Draze.
I want to say something in that we have to remember everything is about balance, right? You can't throw out the baby with the bathwater, right? Like religion comes with cults. That's going to be a part of it. But there's a lot of things that are cults, right? There are political parties that are literally cults. There are companies that are literally cults because of the way people follow them. I think we just have to create balance and start to get people to understand, as Simon was saying, you need your own relationship with God. And when you have a religious leader, balance is about not worshiping them. What you refuse to hold accountable is something called worship, right? Worship comes into play when you can't hold something accountable. I don't get to hold God accountable, right? That's because I worship him. But I should be able to hold my religious leaders accountable. And we have to stop getting to this point where we worship religious leaders, right? They have an ability and a gift, and that should be valued, because there are a ton of really great religious leaders, but there are a ton of bad ones. And then we have to change our definition of success. Simon was talking earlier about how we love success. Well, why does success have to equal money, right? Why don't we change the definition of what is success? Jesus didn't walk around rich, right? He could have been, but because he understood the definition of success can't be, we think that success equals validation of God. And so we follow these men and women of God who have a lot of money, right? And we think, well, they must be validated by God because they have money. That's completely hogwash, and it's the opposite. So I just think we have to, I don't think that uneducating people is the right way. I think we have to educate people more and more what to look for and to know that there are always going to be predators. But I don't think we need to throw out the baby with the bathwater, because there's been a lot of good that has come through faith as well.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Draze. And we just want to take a different, a different trajectory here. And Simon, I want to come back to you here. And I want to ask you, maybe, where have the hiccups come when it comes to East African music in the U.S.? And when I say East, I also mean Central African and South African and all these other genres outside Afrobeat. where did the hiccups hit us? Because we seem to be ahead, especially in East Africa, Kenya specifically. We seem to be ahead, like in the game in the early to mid 2000s. We had so many different Kenyan acts, touring back to back. Sometimes you would even have different artists here at the same time in different cities. But at some point, we kind of stalled as we watched our brothers, deservedly in the West rise to very high levels. Where did we in the East, where did we drop the ball, or maybe where did we miss the boat?
Thank you so much. Draze actually answered this question earlier, where he spoke about the idea of some people not wanting to play their part. We have in the industry, we have DJs, we have festival producers, we have companies that should actually be committed to financing this kind of tours, and then we have influencers who have platforms like yours, who should do exactly what you're doing now. We have people like DJ Sani and people like Ida, people like Suga Shambi, who know the value of creating a voice for our artists and our culture here in the diaspora. So when we come together, when we unite, I think that's what's missing. Now, I want to refer to the West African artists because that's what I think they have that we don't have. For example, I've worked with a lot of West African artists who have also headlined Madaraka. But before Madaraka, like 8 months before Madaraka, they travel by themselves and their managers to Seattle. And they meet with me, they buy all the meals, and they just say, we want to learn about Madaraka. They don't even say we want to perform at Madaraka. They value relationships, but Kenyan artists, Ugandan artists, Tanzanian artists don't do that, So I think that's a big difference, Now
let's pause there. Yeah. Let's pause there because I want us to, drill down on this. Is there a reason why they don't do it? Because, if they know this is what's needed to be done to get successful, is there maybe a reason that we're overlooking as to why they're not doing it?
I think for me, number one, ego and stardom. Like I was saying, everybody wants to be like these people. So when you want to tell someone who is worshipped, that look, you actually need to disguise yourself and just come and meet people, travel at your own cost and invest in relationships. Don't do a show, just do a reconnaissance, like a trip where you're connecting with venues, you're connecting with promoters, you're connecting with studios, you're building a tour schedule for yourself so that you know that every August I'm in Seattle, every September I'm in Vancouver, every December I am in Toronto. I know Ghanaian artists personally who have a schedule like that, and whenever you don't have them in the lineup, they're not mad at you. They call you, they tell you, I know you're doing the festival, you're doing a good job, I'll come, and they come and they show up. When they come, they want to do anything, So I just feel that what is missing is relationships, the value of relationships, I remember I was saying earlier that I was raised by a second wife in a polygamous marriage. I remember real preachers. I grew up around real preachers, preachers who are walking on foot preaching, they were spending nights in our store, like a store that we had in our house. And they were always building relationships with their congregation and showing up when people are in need. And they did that all over the country. You find that these preachers are still respected today. When I go to certain places around Kenya, I'll use the names of people who died a long time ago, and I'll get accommodation, I'll get food. That's how West African artists, for example, the children of Fela Kuti, when they come to Seattle, they look for keyboard players that played with their dad, So they're not coming to new places. You have to build relationships, you have to build bridges. And I'm telling you, there are few artists in Kenya who are doing that. And many people might not know, but I think Sautisol are really good at that. Sautisol have been to Kisumu in Manyata, where we do this work with One Vibe Africa. They've eaten in the ghetto, in corners where nobody will know that they come to. So I think Sautisol are a good example of that. I'll just stop there, but I want to say that when we look at Kenya, Sautisol are a good example of that. But I think Draze has something to add here.
Let me also say, because I think I want to piggyback what Simon is saying. It sounds like a very similar conversation to what we have in Southern Africa. We're having this conversation. Why are our artists not connecting? It's also about lifting one another up, right? Mm-hmm. When you have this fight amongst yourselves to be the first one to make it out, or I want to be the one to blow up, right? Or then you stop working together. When you look at Nigeria, they all help each other out. Even here, I live in LA right now, and the biggest Afrobeat clubs, even the Amapiano clubs, are all run by Nigerians, right? And they all work together. And the top Nigerian guys in Seattle are now working with the Nigerian guys here in LA. And so they're building a network where they all work together and they support one another. They play each other's music. They help each other. It can't always be about numbers. It can't always be, let's say one Kenyan artist reaches out to another and the first guy has 500,000 followers and the other guy has 20,000. Well, the first guy doesn't want to work with the second because he doesn't have as many numbers as him. It shouldn't be about that. It should be, do you like the music, right? If the music is good and it's about the culture and the art, then that's how you're going to level up universally. In hip hop, we had this thing way back in the day where it was the East Coast and the West Coast in America, but then Atlanta blew up. And we're now living in a time where Atlanta is huge. Well, how did Atlanta blow up? They blew up the same way Nigeria is blowing up. Atlanta blew up because T.I., who was a platinum rapper, would do a verse with somebody who wasn't even huge. And we were like, man, how did T.I. do that? Because they had this thing that they called Southern hospitality, and they worked together. I think what Simon is saying, there's a level of hospitality and relationship building that they do with each other and with others that allows them to recognize that there's enough room at the table for everybody. And as long as we keep that mindset, nothing can stop the culture. I will say, lastly, this one part that we didn't add in there, at the end of the day, this is still music marketing. And in order to make it, it also takes a hot song or something. And let's just be honest, West Africa just hit a wave. Sometimes you hit a wave, man. A couple people pop, and once it pops, that's it. It opens the door, and then there's just a wave because your sound becomes the sound that the world embraces. And so, honestly, there's a certain level of this where in South Africa, we have to level up. I'm a piano starting to pop, but we got to create sounds that catch around the world. And then once your sound catches, then you have to open the door and let a bunch of artists run through it.
But there is, just to add to that, the danger in Afrobeat being where it is now is that it's going to be diluted. It's actually being diluted by the radio. And the value of it is going to go away very fast,
Well, let me say this to you, Simon, and that's why Madaraka is so dope, because this is the problem with the industry, this thing I call the system or the industry. The industry finds one sound and then it mass produces it and dilutes it until it's like wringing out a towel, until there's no value in it. And so that's the concern with Afrobeat, is that they're going to mass produce it. And then you're going to start seeing white Afrobeat artists and all these other things. And so to your point, Simon, Madaraka Festival and festivals like this are so crucial because you're bringing to the forefront music that is not just Afrobeat. You're bringing African music across the board to the table. And that is how we maintain and preserve the value, but African music's dominance around the world.
Wow. This right here is one of those historical moments. Remember, we're talking about, journalism and podcasting being the first draft of history. I think a lot of people are going to be listening to what Draze said and what Simon just said, especially about the relationship building part, which is quite important, and also the fact that you just hit a wave does not mean that you're gonna stay there forever. The one thing that worries me, like with all the growth that I see with Afrobeats, is the fact that there's a lot of other people. Yes, the artists are doing amazing, they're doing great, but the ecosystem. I had some Nigerian and some Ghanaian DJs who broke Afrobeats in the US complaining that this train left and it kind of left them behind, the people who made the genre big here. So it's kind of like like when you have a nice car, there's a lot of people who are involved in getting that car to move. So we want to try and get that whole ecosystem. We want all Africans to eat, from the producers, from the guys who are doing the lights, from the guys who are doing the event, from the guys who are doing the stage. But that's slowly slipping away. It's slowly slipping away. And you notice that a lot of these events are now being, mastered by just mainstream American companies. And the people who created Afrobeat here are being left outside. I don't know, Simon, whether you see it the same way
I have
I'm
something
seeing
just
it.
to add. There are little
Yes.
that is related to last year's Madaraka festival. Draze will relate to what I'm about to say, because
Yes.
his DJ is also one of the dopest Afrobeat DJs here in Seattle, that DJs for KEXP, which is one of the biggest radio stations in the US and also in the world. And KEXP is one of the sponsors of Madaraka Festival. They will be broadcasting the Madaraka Festival tour at all the cities where we are going.
Yeesh.
DJ Les Cadence is the one I'm speaking about. Shout out to him. Les Cadence interviewed D'banj, who is one of the fathers of Afrobeat. And one of the questions Les Cadence asked D'banj during their interview was, how does he feel that people that benefited from his sweat, like Burna Boy, are now making more money than him, are now doing well than him? And his answer was really profound to me. He said that for him, he's just happy that he gets to live and see his vision come to life. He sees the success of Afrobeat as a vision that he had, and it has come to life when he's still alive to see it. A lot of East African artists, don't see that. They're not willing to let their visions outlive them. There is a rush to make as much money from every opportunity as possible. There's a rush to negotiate. Like I was saying earlier, there are amazing West African artists that I've worked with, Grammy-winning artists, that sometimes they don't even get paid half of what a Kenyan artist who is not even known here in the US is asking for. So it's not about how popular you are in Kenya or in the Kenyan community or in the Ugandan or Zimbabwean community. It's about how much you're willing to build lasting relationships and to build legacy. Music is about legacy. That's why people like Sautisol, they still play Daudi Kabaka inspired music. They still infuse zilizopendwa, rumba and benga in their music, and we don't have a generation of musicians who are willing to build a strong foundation like people like D'banj and Fela Kuti put in place.
Okay.
Can I add one thing also?
Sure.
Just to what you said earlier, Ali. I thought it was really, I thought the question was really profound around essentially Afrobeat and other musics moving forward, but many of the people and the pioneers who created it or who are lifting it up being left behind. I think it's also crucial for us. It's like if someone was running for office, we have to watch who we vote for, right? Because that person who becomes our next governor or our next president is going to make decisions on our behalf. I think it's the exact same when it comes to music. We have to watch who we lift up. Me and my boys have this saying, there's a difference in leading blacks and black leaders, right? Just because someone is a leading black and they have a big name, that's probably not who you want to follow. But a black leader is someone who's not going to forget where they came from. There's a reason I work with Simon. The reason I work with Simon is because I know who he is through and through as a man. And so Simon and I have a covenant, a unspoken relationship where we understand if I pop, I'm going to hold down Madaraka Festival. As Madaraka Festival pops, it's going to pull me up. And so when I say there's a difference in leading blacks and black leaders, as a people, we have to stop putting artists and blowing up artists who just want to be leading blacks, meaning they want to be rich, have money, be famous, and be, but that doesn't make you a leader. A real leader is never going to forget those who helped them. It's never going, there's, even as black people as a whole, we have to start to even push back against the concepts that are coming against our village and our community and the village mindset community, right? It's about one and a whole and building a stronger whole. So to me, that can happen, but if we do a better job of lifting up the right artists, then we're going to start to see, we're just going to start to see the people who created the art forms and who got it to this point not be left behind.
You know what? Let me say this. I think there's some sort of vindication that we are currently facing right now here in the studio and as the OneMic show.
Yes, I didn't want to say that.
No, we are getting vindicated very well.
Wow.
And it's even a conversation that we've not even had with Simon or Draze.
Maybe you should have Micah be the champion of this conversation, that the direction you're headed.
Because before Micah comes in, I think we have repeatedly said we can all lift each other, especially musicians. And that is part of the reason why sometimes we just play East African music, sometimes specifically Kenyan music, just so that we can create that platform. Let us just create that platform.
Mm-hmm.
We play the music people have never had, give you something different. Like Draze said, it's not always it has to be the same thing. You know, go out, venture out, because music is not a monolith. It's
diverse.
wide, it's diverse. You know, and when Draze is talking about supporting one another, you know, and I think we mentioned this, and probably if I'm not wrong, maybe it's Enraf at one point said, you know, like even in Kenya, if Ali is having a concert or something, artists, not many artists are gonna go for that just to show up and just to support.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
If Ali is having something, he's having a spoken word, whatever, mashairi, whatever it is, you know, what would be nice is if all the people in the industry who can make it, they go there to support. If it's an album launch, whatever it is. But just that way to support. Like Draze was saying, you know, or I think even Simon, you know, like the Nigerians, they just support one another.
And they come.
And you actually, Ali, I've heard you say sometimes you don't really see them beefing.
No.
And itching each other out on Twitter.
No.
Even if they may have disagreements.
They go talk privately.
They talk privately.
Yeah.
But on the outside, they stand as one.
Yeah, they stand as one. And this is what I think that we all need to learn. You know, like we may have our differences, we may have our disagreements for whatever reason. But let's not publish them for the world to see. Because that's a mistake that I see sometimes within our community, whereby people have private differences and they can't publish them for the world to see. Because you see, the world that we live in right now is that all this content that we are creating, whether it's on the OneMic show or whether it's just a post that you're putting up on social media.
Right.
This is a first draft to history. Your grandchildren are going to come to see it. So when you're lying to them that, you know, oh, I was this, I was that, they'll be like, no, granddad, you were here beefing with everyone plus their grandmothers when you were our age. So don't tell us anything. So that's why I keep telling people, whenever there's a difference, you know, like just feel free, you know, like text someone. Let the person tell you that they don't want to talk to you. But bringing them, you know, like in public sometimes just exposes us to the world. Because even other people from outside, maybe who wanted to work with us, they will silently see this and say, no,
nope, never.
We don't want to work with these people. Sometimes you may go to a show, maybe the air conditioner wasn't at 68 degrees. Maybe it was at 72 degrees or 73 degrees. And you want to publish that. You want to ignore all the nice music that you had, all the positives. The one slight thing, you know, maybe you went to the restrooms and maybe they were not up to par, but you want to highlight that. And then what happens when you highlight that small negative thing is that people who are even not at the concert are gonna pick it up from you and gonna start talking about it like they were actually there. Then it gets amplified. So anything good that happened there, it's negative. it gets taken out. Let me tell you something. Nigerians have had shows that failed. But guess what?
You won't hear that
You
much.
never get to know about them.
You may hear somebody never showed up for a concert.
Yeah.
Or something, but
you never,
it doesn't make a wave.
You never see it making a wave, yeah. So these things happen, like live events, things happen sometimes. Someone does not show up on time or someone doesn't. But whenever, like with the Nigerians, like when it happens, you never do it. But whenever they do something small positive, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And this is where I keep telling people, if Nigerians were winning marathons like Kenyans were winning, let me tell you, everyone would know about these marathons.
They would all have our T-shirts. They'd be wearing our track suits. We would have Nikes named after us.
Yes. So this is something that I think we can learn from them. I want to get Micah. Micah is part of the set remotely. He's been listening keenly, and he also has some points to add and some questions to ask. Micah.
Welcome to the OneMic show.
Hey, good evening, fellas.
Party people.
Hi, good evening, fellas. Mtaacha niongea ama mtaongea?
Sawa, ongea bro.
Okay, go ahead.
Man.
Jeez. We told you not to air it in the public.
Violence. No, don't air our private.
But,
we've just talked about it.
You just said it right now.
See us behind the tent after the show.
Tikawana.
Go ahead.
Anyway, hey, Simon. Long time no see. Last time I think I saw you was in Clubhouse back in 2021 when you were holding your African folk stories rooms, which is a very interesting room. And hi, Draze. I have a question for you guys, and this one is in relation to what we've been discussing right now. What we've been discussing about what's affecting East African and South African music in the US. Now, Simon, you the diaspora artist, and Draze, you as a son of a diaspora artist, and also you, as much as you're American, you can consider yourself a diaspora artist when it comes to African music. What role do us, the fans, the diaspora fans, have to do? You guys have spoken about what the artists need to do. Now, what about us? I've seen my co-hosts here have touched on about the negativity that somebody might be able to put out about a show and how it affects that. But what other role can we play in growing of our music? Because I know one of the most things you'll hear people saying, especially is that Kenyans saying, is that Kenyans don't produce nice music, or they will say that the music is not in English, the music is in Chang. I cannot understand that. But then you turn around and you find them vibing to a piano song sung in Zulu the whole song, or vibing to a Nigerian song that has been sung in Hausa or Igbo the whole song. And you ask them, so do you understand? So what role as artists can you ask us in the diaspora to play in making our songs cross the border?
Draze, do you want to go for this, or should I jump in and then you come after?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll jump after you.
Thank you, Micah, again for your support. And nice to hear your voice again. I would say that for the fans, for the people that consume music, I would say show up. Number one, show up when an artist or an event organizer or a festival producer organizes an event like Madaraka. If you can't show up by buying your ticket or being there physically, share the content. Engage with the content, because many of us, when we look at this economically, many of us, where we spend our money, this is something that Draze is very passionate about, and he's done a lot of work with Muhammad Ali's daughter in bringing money to the Black community. Where you spend your money is very important. That means that the music you listen to, it's being streamed as you are listening to it, and somebody's making money. Who is that is making money? The shows that you go to, somebody's making money. Who is that is making money? Is that money going to circulate in your own community? Is that money going to end up in Africa somehow? You have to ask yourself this question. The clubs that you go to, is it benefiting your community? Could it employ somebody in your community in the future? So we need to ask ourselves these questions as fans, and then do we want to see African festivals around? If we do, then we have to show up. We have to invest in them. Sometimes it's only one ticket. I was really impressed by a DJ here in Seattle, a very less known DJ. He bought 10 tickets to the Seattle show. And he said, look, I want to give 5 away, but 5 are mine, for my people. And I was really surprised. And I told him, I want your phone number. I want us to be friends, because for me, I want to invest in what he's doing, because he showed me that, look, what you're doing is important. I don't know you very well, but this is what I'm going to do right now to invest in what you're doing. So really, it's about showing up and investing in what is important.
Okay.
I would also say, I would add to that, it's really important to try to create a culture of sharing, right? How do we cultivate culture? Because when you start talking about fans, there's a fine line between me as an artist manipulating your fandom. See, as an artist, I believe that music touches a fan, right? You play me one song, I love it. You play me the next song, I can't stand it, right? I still need to have the right to like whatever song I want to like. And I think I, as an artist, want to protect your ability to like whatever you like, right? Whatever it is you like, if you like it, you like it. You don't even have to know why you like it. I just like it, right? You don't owe me nothing. If I play a flute, if I hit a stick on a tin can and you like it, you have a right to like it. So I think that's the first thing as an artist I think has to be protected. But at the same time, I have to place a demand on you when you say, well, what should we do? You got to be active in creating a culture of sharing music. Where is that? You have to be active in creating a culture that is being intentional about supporting, like people who go to church. We were talking earlier about church members, and I have family members who go to church. Man, they go to church on Sunday. They go on Wednesday for Bible study. They go on Thursday. They go Friday. They are being intentional about going to the singles fellowship and supporting the pastor's anniversary. That's not natural. You're being intentional about it. So I think as fans, particularly African music fans, we have to be intentional in saying, you know what, this year I'm going to go to 5 music festivals that are African music based. Why? I want to be intentional. But with my going, I'm also going to hold the promoters like Simon and myself and everybody else who does festivals. You also have to hold the promoters accountable. Don't let them just bring any old artist. If you're going to an African music festival and every year it's Wizkid and Burna Boy and you want to see somebody else, you have to write them and tell them, hey, this is great, but we want to see some other bands, right? And you'd be surprised how many of these promoters would really show up. So I would say be intentional, be consistent, be active at essentially creating a culture of sharing music amongst one another, because that's how music's going to grow. People are going to get music from actual fans, actual people more than they are. I mean, television and stuff like that will do it, but I get my music from friends. As an example, today I found out that I'm a hip-hop guy, so I found out a new hip-hop album came out today. I found out from a friend who sent me a text message and was like, man, the first 4 songs on this are hot. I didn't even know it was out. And so I went to go listen to it. That's how music grows, through personal sharing.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much.
Some of indication.
Yes, I know. You know, like on the OneMic show for a very long time, we've been trying to. You've articulated it so well. Maybe we just didn't have the right words, and we've gotten
seen as haters.
Yes, we've gotten in trouble. We've gotten into a lot of trouble, you know, for doing this. You know, like where we would, you know, just and we're not the type of people who would go and, you know, like post something on social media. These are people, you know, like the people who run, you know, like events within the Kenyan, they're all people we know. So they're people that we can easily reach and that we can easily talk to. And sometimes, like we don't see value in, like doing something in public, when I can directly go talk to Simon and just tell Simon, hey, Simon, that artist you brought, like last year, I wasn't really feeling him, like I can easily do that. And I know if it was an issue with maybe the sound or anything, Simon is gonna fix it. That's better than, like going on Instagram or on Facebook or on TikTok and publishing like, oh my God, look at what has happened here. So we are glad that this voice is coming from someone else, because, like when maybe a different sound as this, it hits differently. But now we want to come straight to the Madaraka Festival, to the events that are coming up next month. Like next month is just in 2 or 3 days. So Simon, tell us, like what to expect. You've already on madarakafestival.com, where you can get the tickets. It's been announced that the events are going to be in New York, in Dallas, in Seattle, and in Atlanta, in those 4 places. So tell us what to expect. And there's some people from other cities who are asking, like we here in the DMV, like
by the way, DMV was skipped.
Yes,
so
it was conveniently skipped. We feel like we're the capital and we deserve something, like we deserve something here. So maybe tell us if something is in the cooking, and maybe just tell us what to expect on this upcoming festival in the month of May. Simon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I have to say that this is the first national festival here in the US that I'm producing, that, national tour. I've never done this kind of thing before. So, Draze and I were talking long before the announcement was done. And then we made adjustments as the rollout of the promo was happening. We made a lot of adjustments. With this tour, we had an opportunity to do 11 shows, 11 cities, through the partnership we have with Live Nation. But we scaled down as we were looking at the resources that we were accessing, and we scaled down to now the 4 shows that we are doing. So really, if you look back at the history of Madaraka Festival, the people who are going to attend, the fans, who are of very diverse backgrounds, you should expect to go home happy and tired and joyful, and for the people who do the kind of work you do, the journalists, the media creators, expect to live with really beautiful images of of our people having a great time. We spend a lot of time in the details, making sure the bands that back all the artists rehearse. We've been rehearsing since January. Shout out to the One Vibe band. We ensure that the artists that we are working with, we have a relationship. You see how on short notice, Anthony and Draze left everything that they were doing in order to show up for this interview. So, we just want you to come and support and know that you're not just showing up to, a show as usual. You're actually creating change in East Africa. The education, music, and art program that One Vibe has been doing in Kisumu, Kenya is growing. Now we are partnering with a program in Uganda and in Tanzania. And as we speak, we have a 40-foot container that we're filling with music instruments and production gears here in Seattle, Washington. In Germany, we just shipped another 13 pallets of gears, guitars and microphones and all sorts of things that arrived in Kisumu about 2 weeks ago. The German ambassador in Kenya was in Kisumu to deliver these things himself, So we are doing real work. The festival is just the vehicle for us to expand the work that we're doing. So if you want to make a difference in your community and in Africa, if you want to work with real people who are doing real work, we are building a platform that is going to outlive us. My hope is that our children and our great grandchildren can continue doing Madaraka Festival, because as you were all speaking about the challenges that we face where our people out each other publicly, I was thinking about how in this country, even being black is already hard. If you're a black business owner, it's very hard for you. If you're a black artist, it's very hard for you. And so if you start fighting each other, the other people that already have a hard time with your existence, when they see you fighting and weakening each other, they just laugh because the battle is already won for them. So for me, I am in this for the long haul. And if you want to be involved, we are looking for volunteers as well, because this work is not easy, So we are always looking for volunteers to be involved with the production aspect of the event, I want to just quickly give a shout out to some of the incredible people that have been involved with making this work happen. Teacher Wanjiku, Eric Omondi, Owago Nyiro, Suga Shambi, Nas Judy, Gary Wainaina from Kenya Americani. Outside of the artists, there are people, influencers and comedians and community leaders that sometimes people just call you from nowhere and they ask you, how are you doing, So I want to give a shout out to Need Media, led by Austin UN, we are producing an Amazon special, So this whole tour, we are filming it, and we are going to be taking that film to Amazon Prime. So, many people will just see Madaraka Festival, but we are creating a musical album. There's so much happening in the behind the scene that many people will not know. But our goal is that after every tour, we have a film on Amazon that you can watch, and we are diversifying our revenue stream so that it will get to a place where the tickets for Madaraka will be very cheap because we have multiple revenue streams, and really shout out to our sponsors, Alaska Airlines, Amazon, Certified Homes Limited, especially for Kenyans, by the way. We are partnering with this company that is literally, allowing people in the diaspora to build homes and buy land in Kenya. So for every show we are doing, this company is going to be giving away a piece of land, So for every one of these shows, during the show,
Kafuroti.
Yeah, floaty. So, so for every, we have 5 plots to give away during this tour. So for every show, we're giving away a plot.
But you only have 4 shows. So where is the 5th plot going to be given?
Give the 5th one to the OneMic
show. The OneMic show.
The show we haven't. Well, let's talk about the shows we haven't announced.
Okay. Talk about the shows that have been announced and the ones that have not been announced, because I think those are the ones.
And the ones that you're thinking of announcing, because
there are things I can't talk about publicly.
Okay.
But there are things that are bubbling. First of all, shout out to DJ Sistuki, who was here earlier, and Ida Aisha. They've been supporting behind the scene, and they're influencing some of the shows that we'll be announcing in the coming weeks. And also in the DMV, there are a lot of people who are influencing potential shows in the DMV. But we do have a show that is confirmed that we haven't announced to the public on June 1st. That one is going to be at the waterfront, at the Seattle waterfront, where Madaraka happened last year. One of the most beautiful venues that we've ever had.
I saw the videos from there. Wow, that's nice.
Yeah, it's going to be an album, listening party where we will listen to the Madaraka album that we are recording currently and during the tour. But also we will sample music from Draze's album, music from Sautisol's album, and we are doing it in partnership with the Grammy Academy. We are going to have board members of the Academy there. One of the DJs touring with us is also the board chair for the Global Grammy Academy. He's from Cameroon, but he lives in Los Angeles. His name is Freddie Mooks. So
tell him to start voting for Kenyan artists when he's voting. Go ahead.
Yeah, the thing is, we are trying to bring Kenyan artists to the same table with these people, so that it's a no-brainer when voting time comes.
Yes. Yeah, the Grammys there's a formula for the Grammys, and if there's any Kenyan artists who are watching, there's a formula. You have to know there is a formula. You don't just get a Grammy. There is a formula.
Yeah, I think the biggest formula is relationships, to tell you the truth.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, relationships. And and that's why I'm a member of the academy too, the Northwest chapter of the Grammy Academy, and a lot of it begins with being a member and then being a voting member.
Correct.
And so the idea is, as we are here with these artists, we want to put them together with these people and produce with the same producers that produce for the Grammy Award-winning artists. And for example, Draze, he's probably making a lot of money by being a TV music producer. Draze is an Emmy Award winner. He just won an Emmy last year. So bringing people like Draze with our artists, and I think just creating the ecosystem, like one of you mentioned, is what we are trying to do. But I just want to say thank you, because I have to go and become a father now in a moment. I just want to express my gratitude to you, Brother Ali, and your team, Omosh and Micah. And I'll let Draze maybe speak a little before I have to run, but I'm extremely grateful, my brothers.
Okay. All right. Now, before you run, we're going to let Draze speak, and then there's one last question we have for you before you run. Draze.
You know what? I just wanted to say the festival is amazing. It always has been, always will be. You don't really know what you're going to expect from one year to the next, right? But I can tell you that I know a little bit about the cities that are going to be added. I wish I could say something. Simon won't let me, but we're coming.
Come on, bro. Come on, bro.
Come
on, man.
We won't tell him.
We won't tell him.
You won't tell him?
No, we won't tell him.
Tutatoa kitu kidogo. Kunywa chai. Tutakupatia chai.
Yeah, but I just, all jokes aside, man, the festival is going to really, really be amazing. Madaraka Festival is always something to behold. And so I'm excited to hit the stage. I will be on there bringing, I play the full orchestra of marimbas, but I can't bring them all on tour. But there's going to be marimbas, there will be mbitas, whole show, all of the traditional Zimbabwean instruments. I'm trying to bring a complete experience to people so that they get a chance to hear not just Southern Africa, but specifically Zimbabwean music, right? And to feel our energy and what we contribute musically. So I just tell people everywhere, man, if you're thinking about a show, this is the one you do not want to miss this year if it's rolling through your city. If it's not in your city and you're like 100 miles away, you should hop in the car, nice little road trip, go on down there. The same way people do for Coachella. It's worth it, man. This is going to be like the African Coachella traveling through America, so it's going to be ill. I'm looking forward to it.
There is a quick question before you leave. Do you have any work lined up with any Kenyan artists?
Do I have any what?
Do you have any music you're working on with any Kenyan artists?
I do have, I just got the mastering back from my album today. I do have a Kenyan artist on the album. I can't, I wish I could tell you guys who
That's
it was.
okay. It's okay. You can tell us. Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay.
Just tell us.
Come on, Dre.
It's okay. This is family. It's family.
I know it is too.
Yeah.
We won't tell anyone, Dre. I mean,
I do have some, but I'm always open, man. I'm always making music, open to working with people. I get artists that hit me up all the time online. A lot of them want to do stuff because they want to be on television, which is cool. They're like, yo, we do a song. Can you get it on a television show? And I'm like, yeah, probably can. So let's do a song, right? So, but yeah, I'm always open to listening to artists. I don't really discriminate based on if you have 1 million followers or not. None of that matters to me. What really matters to me is art. And so is there a connection? Is it genuine? Do I like what you do? Do you like what I do? Or do you just want to utilize me to get an opportunity? I'm not interested in that. I'm more like, if you'll see when my album comes out, it's all artists that I really like, people I really love their music. And so there's a genuine connection. And then I'll have people who would just be like, oh, let's do something. I'm going to send you a beat. I'm like, well, you don't know what I'm vibing on right now. You don't know what I'm feeling. Oh, let's do an Afrobeat song, or I'm a piano. Why? Why should we do that? Because that's what's popping right now. That's just not the way that I move. So I'm genuine. If there's a genuine connection artistically, I'm always open to working with artists. Send them my way.
Okay, so you're not gonna
Wow.
tell us.
Nini.
So you're not gonna tell us if the name of that artist starts with a K. You're not even gonna tell us
Or
that.
an N.
Or an N. Or an
maybe an
X.
N. Huh?
I think it starts. Is it a V, Draze?
Yeah, it is.
We know who that is.
Okay, all right.
All right.
We're not gonna mention him.
It's a female.
We're
Yeah.
not gonna mention. We're not gonna mention.
Better
who
not be
it
Vera
is.
Sedika.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
No,
We're not gonna mention her.
It ain't that. So, Draze, you said you're gonna be doing Zimbabwean music during this, and you're it's marimba based, and you're really gonna be showcasing Zimbabwe. So, do you have women dancers in Cecil skirts?
I wish I did, man. I wish I did.
Draze, add it to your repertoire, brah.
I know. I need to.
All right.
But we'll have some surprises, man. Pull up.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank
All
you.
right, yeah. So Simon, as we wrap up, because we know you have to go, just briefly tell us about the future, what you see coming up for Madaraka Festival in the next 2-3 years, and partnerships that you can work with. We see you already have sponsorship from Amazon, Alaska Airlines, Microsoft, or whoever. Partnerships, like for example, like now you've connected with a OneMic show. How is it that we can partner so that we also get to travel in this journey together, depending on where you envision this? Simon.
Simon, before you go, let me just say one thing, guys. I gotta go, but I have had a blast talking with you guys. The OneMic show is hella dope. I'm gonna tell all types of people about it. Keep rocking and rolling, people. If anybody anywhere in the world is looking for me, follow me online at the Draze Experience. That's the Draze Experience. Peace and love, man. I'll see y'all on the road.
All right. Thank you so much, Draze.
Thank you, Draze.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Draze.
Yeah.
So partnerships. One of the partnerships that we haven't announced is with the Kenyan consulate here in the US. Big up to Big Ted, who is really supporting behind the scene. And soon you guys are going to see a lot of his own effort, coming out. And also, this, I have a deep desire to involve the Kenyan government, especially Magical Kenya, because Madaraka Festival actually inspired the Tanzanian government to hire me as a consultant for a festival they're trying to do here in the US called Serengeti Festival.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's news.
Watcha.
They are investing heavily in promoting Tanzania here.
Yes.
Because most of their tourism money comes from the Pacific Northwest, the region where we are. So if you go to the Seattle Sounders game, you find Visit Tanzania, big, big.
Remember the Tanzania effect with the Seattle, the football team.
The Seattle Sounders.
No, the football team.
Exactly.
The NFL team. They also had a big, even...
the Seahawks.
Yeah, the Seahawks. Even Richard Sherman was talking about the Tanzania effect. They had a big Kilimanjaro
Is
sign
that
in the
why
stadium.
he was doing the thing with the president? When they did, at the time, you remember the tour that he went with her?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but if you go on YouTube and find Tanzania effect Richard Sherman, you'll see him talk about Tanzania a lot. Simon, back to you.
Yeah, so I met the Minister of Sports and Tourism and Culture for Tanzania here in Seattle, and we were in a boardroom meeting with him and the executive secretary for the Tanzania Arts Council. They invited Google, they invited leading festivals in the Pacific Northwest, and the reason they're positioning themselves, And again, this is why I want to talk about the future of Madaraka. Madaraka, the reason we are making Madaraka a national festival is that we know that the World Cup is coming to the US in 2026. So our goal is to make Madaraka Festival a FIFA festival,
Wow.
So we are already, engaging with FIFA. We are talking to them, and we want to demonstrate that this is a true, authentic African festival. And part of that is why, people like the Tanzanian government see value in what we are doing. I am the immediate former board president of Northwest Folklife Festival that has been around for over 50 years. And I've learned a lot in that role, and I've learned a lot about raising funds for festivals and growing festivals and growing a festival that lasts for 100 years, And so that's what I want to bring to our community, This is something that I'm very passionate about. I started producing events in high school and in the ghetto in Manyata. Organizing an event, a successful event in the ghetto is hard. And so I'm bringing those ghetto ideas and skills to the diaspora, but in a very professional and in a polished way. But I'm a very faithful person. I feel that the work I do is also how I worship the Most High, because if you do good work, good people come around it. And that's why I met with you, Ali. That's why a lot of the people I meet, like Draze, a lot of the artists I work with, they're people who are deep believers in what they do. And I feel that Madaraka Festival is something that is going to be here for a long time. And, I'm just hoping and praying that the right people continue, coming our way. Again, as I said, I grew up in the slum, and I always just looked at Microsoft from far. I looked at Google from far. I looked at Amazon from far. But now these are people that we talk to directly, and there are many others we can't even talk about publicly. In New York, I'm talking to government officials in Seattle. There are many government officials that support this work that we're doing because of the consistency we've had. Earlier you were asking me about how did we survive the pandemic. During the pandemic, we had the biggest Madaraka festival that lasted for about 8 hours virtually. It was the biggest because we had artists from Brazil, Spain, Ghana, artists from all over the world that participated in the virtual Madaraka festival, where we raised over $10,000 for women in Mathare, Manyata, and Nyalenda slums. So we identified 500 women, but we were only able to get money to 106 women. We gave each of them $100 each, because women in the slum are like the last line of defense during a crisis like the pandemic, when women in the slum, especially those that sell food and charcoal and things in the slum, when they're out of business, the youths go crazy, because those are the women that hire them, those are the women that feed them. So if you want to see, chaos blow up, when these women run out of business, that's when you see problems coming up in community, especially in the slum. So we wanted to provide capital during the pandemic to these women. So we organized a long Madaraka festival, 8 hours. Rocky Dauni from Ghana headlined it, but we had incredible artists that participated. So I would say that, for me, it's just about having faith in what you do, but also taking risks. Like many Kenyans here in the US, many Kenyans have multiple jobs. Many Kenyans work day and night in order to make a lot of money that they really never get to enjoy. A lot of us send money back home, and we never get to live in the houses that we are building, the magnificent homes that we are building, because we spend a lot of our time working for other people and having our dreams, on the back burner. For me, I'm doing this full time, and also I'm a full-time father, So I take being a father seriously, and I take pursuing my dreams seriously. And I don't have a lot of money, as many people who are probably watching this have, but I have a lot of connections. I have I have a big support system, and a lot of the things I do succeed because of that network of people that I've built in multiple sectors. And I'm very proud of that. I sleep really well because I hold my integrity and my values at a very high esteem. So I'm very patient, and I believe that what we're doing is purposeful work.
Okay,
Wow.
thank you so much. That was Simon Javan Okelo, Madaraka Festival founder and CEO, One Vibe Media. Asante sana, and we're gonna get connected again as the festival comes closer.
And please add a local Kenyan artist to that lineup. Huh? That local Kenyan artists in the US, if you have any. I'm sure you're working on it.
Okay, sawa, you know, like
Asante sana.
okay, all right, thank you so much. Okay, wow, that was this was such an amazing conversation. It's one of those conversations I did not know, you know, like exactly what to expect. Initially, when this Madaraka Festival flyers were going round, you know, like a lot of people thought that this was just
A hoax.
a Sautisol event.
A hoax,
Not
first
as-
of all.
not-
Because there's just so many things that, you know, you see, and you're like, okay, what is this Madaraka?
Yeah.
Madaraka. So, if we don't know it, it can't be true.
Yeah, and you see,
And then Sautisol themselves had not posted it. It was just the
Yes,
poster coming out, and
it
you
was
couldn't
the
see
poster
it
coming
anywhere. So
out,
you're
yeah.
like, this can't be legit. If they're not posting and they say, it can't be legit.
and you see, I think Simon is one of the few Kenyans out here in the US who's actually doing this full time. This is his full time gig.
And you know, this is, I have to commend him. It cannot be easy. I have to commend him. You know something he said, and it hit me. Those guys sent, 13 pallets of musical equipment
Yeah.
to Kisumu.
Mm-hmm.
That's life-changing. A guitar is life-changing. And the guy he was talking about, Apesi, I was with Apesi in Manyata.
Yeah.
I met him through Muzi. And I'm telling you, that guy himself, you know, there are people who have talent, and it's almost like, okay, they know they have talent, but they don't really know how they have talent
Yes.
until they come out of their
comfort
neighborhood,
zone, yeah.
and then they are out playing at a festival, and everybody's just falling down. That's the type of talent this guy has. Like Muzi met him the first time. Muzi started recording the guy immediately. He's like, no, come, studio. And that's how I got to meet Apesi. I met Apesi, and I even went with him mpaka Manyata and dropped him home. And boss, ukiambiwa ni ghetto, ni huko ndani. You know, Kongowea kule ndani.
Yes.
Something like that. Where
okay.
unashukishwa na matri, and then you have to climb on a border to ingia huko ndani.
Wow.
That's how huko ndani iko.
Okay. Uno Mike, what are your thoughts?
Vindication. Vindication.
I mean, vindication, I think.
No, it's good. It's good to always get because
It's
you
good
think
to
about
hear it from someone else. You're right, because we've been singing this song and we almost sound like a broken record.
And like you said, I think even you Ali, during the introduction, you know, Madaraka. You told us that Madaraka, like Madaraka what? So me, you know, what I was thinking about Madaraka here in Bolti.
Madaraka Day.
Eh. No. Unakumbuka?
Yeah.
Madaraka people. Me, I was like, okay, so let me hear what this is. This has.
Yes.
When I get
Gotcha.
when he mentioned that, like, so I'm like saying this thing, you know, this guy, I'm like, so you're giving us material. I'm like, from 2014.
Yes.
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 And
from
I'm like,
2014.
Okay, so is it that we have been burying our heads in the Mudaga, or
No, it's
Or
just
we
that
just
they've been
don't
doing
know.
it in the
Our
Pacific.
circles.
They've been doing it Pacific Northwest.
They've been doing in the Pacific
and
Northwest.
and then everything that they do.
No,
Go ahead.
I think the reason why we have not had it, or the reason why they did do it, is because they did the promotion bit as proper as they could. These are people who are looking at music as a business. And this is one conversation we've always spoken about, and we've told people who are in the music industry, especially the Kenyan people, Kenyan music industry, if you do the business of music, many people don't understand the business of music. And here is somebody who looked at it as a musician and looked at it, how can I grow it as a child, start it slowly until it builds a life of his own. As he said, good things happen to those who wait. It took time in cultivating and building it. He didn't just take the shortcut where if I want to jump into promotion, I will do a shortcut, take a flyer, call Sunny, because Sunny is already good at what he is. And boom, I launched my promoter career because I'm doing that. And then I try to, and then look at it, most people will try to go to the major events, Kenya events, Memorial, Vegas, Nini, and it doesn't happen. Even if we go back, let's scale back from Madaraka. Let's go back to people that we know. Let's go back to the two hottest DJs in America right now, Sunny and Shinsky. How do they look? How do they carry their DJing work? They take it as a business, as a serious business, something they invest passion, time, money, and we can see the success coming out from it. So this is the same thing that these guys did. They used their business acumen and grew it. Now when we are seeing it when it's out there. It's where it can't go anywhere else and just keep on growing. And if you remember, there's a certain mkusanyiko of people when this Madaraka conversation came out. People were even actually arguing with the Grammy-nominated artist, telling him that there is no way you can sell out a concert. You can even get half of the people into a concert if you don't involve them, because they are the known names in Kenyan promotion. And the person told them, we don't even need you. We don't even need you to sell. We don't even need you to sell these tickets in a day. What you guys can sell in 3 weeks, we can sell in a day, just because of how we've set up the business. And he told them, I will not argue to you on something that you do it as a hobby, while I do this as my daily bread and butter. So it's just about going back to the simple basic, understanding the business of music and respecting the business that you're putting into it. As he said, he likes working with people who love and have a passion of what they do. The same thing Draze said. So it's the little basic that people keep on talking about on how to handle your music, how to grow this music industry, as well, Mike is saying. Vindication. Because these are discussions that we've had with other people. Mm-hmm. Other people have been successful in other markets and who have been willing to share the knowledge. Mm-hmm. But then when you try to pass on the knowledge to other people, because they look at you and say, you sit behind, you all you know is sitting behind the mic and talking. Mm-hmm. Why don't you do the promotion? It's maybe because I myself don't have that passion. But I understand the business, and I'm trying to tell you, do this thing as a business, and don't want to listen. Mm. So back to you guys in the studio. For me, I just think Simon really is somebody that most of the people who are actually looking into growing into this industry should reach out, try to build a relationship with him, and use him as a mentor for you. Back to you, Ali.
Okay, thank you so much, Micah. You know, like a lot to unpack from what Micah said. Now, a couple, it was 2 weeks ago. I was in Boston. I mean, you guys were supposed to come for the marathon, but that's a discussion we're going to have behind the tent. Behind the tent. Remember what we've talked about. Remember what we've talked about.
Over here, the baby's diaper needs to be changed now. Now. We'll change it now. Ile kipino imdunge ndio sasa ajue kojoa adharani is not going to pass.
But here's the point, you know, like I was in Boston, you know, like for the Boston Marathon, and there's something interesting.
Ask him how he got
I learned.
He drove, but
you know, like there's something interesting I learned. No, I got there by Southwest. I did not drive. There's something interesting that I learned when I was there. Remember, a couple of years ago, Boston Marathon used to have this event that we used to attend.
Running with the champions.
Running with Kenyans.
No, it was running with the champions.
It was running with the champions.
Yeah. It was dinner with champions.
Oh,
dinner with champions. Did they call it dinner?
Yeah.
We went for dinner, but they didn't call it dinner.
Okay.
Dinner with champions.
Whatever name it was called.
Why you gonna run?
Whatever name it's called. Okay. Whatever name it was called.
Ironic. This chap.
Whatever name it was called, but here's the point I'm trying to bring through.
Yes.
Is that this was a very successful event. The marathon runners would come, meet the Kenyans, and then even people who are not Kenyans would pay to come and attend the event. It was a very nice event. But and then the embassy was also supporting it to a certain level.
I think they were the major
but then at some point it just stopped, and I got some insight onto why it stopped. Yes. Remember, this event was so successful for a couple of years, and then like in the Kenyan culture, someone on the side saw this as a platform of where they can also do their own event. And this is what Micah was talking about earlier. This is what Micah was talking about earlier, that you know, like you try to launch your career by going to these places that people are already going. You know, it's kind of like setting up, you know, like a a stall selling something where there's already a big crowd. So if you sell a lot, it doesn't mean that you're a good salesperson. It means that you just went where a lot of people
Laws of
were.
probability.
Yeah, and probability was out of 100 people, maybe 2 or 3 are gonna buy something from you. So there was another group that started something, and then this group for the dinner, they at some point they pulled out. They're like, okay, you wanna do it? Go ahead and do it. And then when they were left to do it by themselves, guess what? They were not able to do it.
Mother than you.
Yeah, they were not able to do it.
Like a brukenge.
Yeah, so this is where, you know, like this is a learning. Madaraka Festival, I think, is a learning experience for especially, you know, like the promoters who just wanna come and tag along whenever there's a big event. You know, because what happens is that, yes, you'll be there, but then that's not sustainable. You know, like you have to start building what you have small and grow it from there. And the way the game is right now, if we're to be in a position to compete with the other big artists and the other big productions that we see, this has to be a full-time gig. You cannot be doing this part-time anymore.
No.
Where the game has gotten right now,
no, boss.
you can no longer do this part-time. You know, like this thing of waiting until there's an event.
Right.
You can no longer do this part-time. You're seeing, you know, like the likes of Fully Focus. They're almost full-time. You're seeing
Focus
the likes
is full-time.
You're seeing the likes of DJ Shinsky.
Full-time.
Almost full-time.
He is full-time.
Kinasistuki.
Full-time.
You know, like I mean, they're entrepreneurs too, but this is something that they take seriously.
Shinsky has 6 jobs.
This is something
Other
they
than
take
DJing,
seriously.
he has 6 jobs, but they're all related to DJing.
All related to DJ.
They're all yes.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
It's called multiple streams
Boss,
of income.
Kumbuka tukiwa naye.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
called-
I'm like, what's boss? You do this?
No, it's
I
important.
mean, if you want music, you go to him, and he will sell you music.
Yeah, you know.
I mean, you want beats, boom.
Yeah.
You want merchandise, boom. You want nini, boom. And you also want him to come and DJ for you. Nie. Kama unataka akue MC, I may not like it, but guess what? Atakue MC.
Now, look, Stephen JJ is saying, wacha utaona wakianza Madaraka Festival zao sasa. Which I think, and it's okay.
That is very true. It's gonna happen.
It's
Kuna
okay.
jamaa mwenye anataka kiki ataanzisha tu yake hapo atakia yake. Kwanza June 1st, ngoja one jamaa ke ka festival.
And it's okay. But I think, you know, like if you're starting,
Often imitated,
if you're
never
starting,
duplicated.
if you're starting your own thing, you know, like always think of how you can do this uniquely, because Javan was here when all the promoting style that we know was going on around, but he took a different direction.
Sure did.
He took a different direction. I mean, it took him a long time,
Until the other day, I'd never heard of him.
but guess what?
That's what I'm saying. But, and not that I didn't. I just did not. So I was, you know, you're the one who brought.
Yeah,
brought
he
it to our attention.
concentrated
Yeah.
in his area, and when he was able to.
Then I'm like, from
and like
2014.
you heard what he said. Is like he had a chance of doing this in 11 cities.
And then you
And he only
know
went-
the thing
he
is
only
this,
went with 4.
one thing about him is like when I first encountered him, Clubhouse, he was not even doing things about music or anything. It was more about traditional African stories and rooms with other podcasters just talking about different things about podcasting and stuff like that. And every morning they had a room that did talk about was it African riddles or something. Every morning they did have a room at Clubhouse that they do. So that is why even the first time when I saw that, when I saw the Madaraka Instagram page and I saw the video, I remember I took a clip earlier and I sent it to that group and I asked Sambaza, this Simon, and he said yes. And I was like, interesting, because I was surprised that he was actually doing this. Even when I saw Madaraka festival the first time, I had no idea it was him. And now listening to his story, oh wow, man, there's nothing but respect for him. Mad respect.
I'm telling you, I'm a believer. And oh, by the way, I see a book in publication. He may not be saying it, but I'm sure he has a book he's writing.
Yes, and you know,
I don't. Anyway, he'll tell us here when he comes on the show next.
and you know, I think the good thing that he did is that he let the brand, you know, like stay ahead of him, because sometimes as persons,
Yes.
we wanna, because now there's Madaraka festival out there that people know about it. You don't even have to know who he is.
No.
You don't even have to know who
Nope.
he is, but you'll know about the festival. You know, just even when you think about these other festivals, the smaller ones, the bigger ones, you sometimes are not able to put a face to it, but
Correct.
you just know Coachella.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
just know, you know, like X festival or Y festival, but you can't put a
Do
face
you know
to
there's
it.
blankets and wine now in UG?
Look at that, you know, and that's something that
I was like, and I think it's this weekend. I was like, what?
yeah, and that's something that started very small, and I think this is what
Very small. And if you want to know her story, go to those guys cleaning the airwaves.
cleaning the
Yes.
airwaves, yeah, on
Only
YouTube.
the drama. queen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, like this is an important lesson on just starting with what you have, than waiting for what you want. Because a lot of times people are like, and even myself personally, I sometimes fall into that trap of, I need this, I need to put this in order, this has to be perfect. I think you just have to
Yeah,
start with the
sometimes you just have to
imperfections.
start. Yeah.
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 Let the people laugh. You know, like remember when even guys were calling us a matchbox or whatever.
I
It,
remember that.
I mean, it did not.
We were told
Actually-
that. What we
No,
were
no,
told at
no.
one point we were where? In a bar.
No, no. But that did not. But that did not stop us. And you see, I think critiquing. There's critiquing and there's criticizing and there's matusi.
No,
you know, and you have to learn. You have to learn
to balance it.
You have to learn how to balance. How to balance the two, and this is where, you know, like.
See, even we named our WhatsApp group Matchbox.
Yeah, I know. And our first studio was Matchbox Studios.
Man.
Yeah. So I think we are at that point, you know, like in our lives where people are getting, where there's access to a lot of information, and just don't be scared. Just get started. Now, before we wrap up, we wanted to talk about this situation of Pastor Mackenzie. I don't know whether this is something that we should just keep
I
and
think,
call it a day.
Okay, here. My take
no,
on
no,
it
no.
is this.
Yeah.
Let's start it.
Ngoja
but we should
niulize
not
swali,
finish
ngoja
it.
niulize tu swali kidogo
Yes.
tu.
Yeah.
Leo mmesoma comments?
Yes, tumesoma comments.
No,
Sasa
Mika.
zile tukianza anza sahi tukiendelea.
Yes, tumesoma. Wendo umekuwa
Ama
ukitake
hakuna
breaks.
comments?
No, you've been taking breaks. You've been taking breaks.
He
Mika.
had gone for a water break.
Kubali tu umekuwa ukitake breaks.
No, it was water break, boss.
Eh?
Azi.
It was
Yeah.
water break. It was not smoke break. It was water break.
Okay.
Okay, angalia pengine kuna comments. YouTube, we don't have any comments on YouTube.
Okay.
But
Now Simon anasema yani ametoka show lakini bado ana watch. Anasema
Hakuwa anafukuzwa. Why was he leaving? He could have stayed.
anasema, I'm still watching the show. I have a book. It's called Rooted in Love. I deeply appreciate you all.
Omosh.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you, you know, kuna vitu zingine unaona kutoka mbali. And I'm sure that that's the one that he wrote then. Kuna ingine inakwamo. There's one coming. Which is gonna be, you know, like the way Obama had the first book and then akatoele ya second. His is coming.
Okay, now
guys
it's,
haven't read.
and it's
What do you
actually
mean
it's on
Stephen
Amazon
Batty?
already. Stephen Batty anasema it's on Amazon already, and anasema he used Clubhouse to create great connections and collaborations. So Clubhouse si makelele too. Yes, I mean, of course you have to separate, you know, like the wheat from the chaff.
The white noise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, there are very many comments. Guy Mwadhani, okay, how you're talking about Pastor Man without us? We're very relaxed. Oh, but Aida, Pastor Man right now. What is it? So, it's a
That
neuro.
Hizo ni
was
nyingi, hatuwezi kuzimaliza.
That was the
Hizo tungoje Ruth atakuja kutusomea.
Adding to what Draze was saying, we also have to interrogate our social conditioning that makes us susceptible to religious cults. Those cult leaders employ the same tactics used by abusers, terrorists, etc. And somebody actually mentioned how the government and cultists wako nini? What's up, group moja? Nasikia, I guess this was to you. Nasikia your relationships are what matters a lot when we are engulfing ourselves in likes and followers. When you tag together, there's a lot that can happen. Ego is what kills our development.
Yes, and you on that point of relationships, I think it's a very underestimated, underrated.
It sure is.
Underrated thing,
Sure is.
and that's the reason why, you know, like there was a point. We are certainly, you know, like we are not the most viewed platform on platforms that are in the
Yeah,
US.
if you're looking at numbers.
100%.
Yeah, if
If
you're just
you
looking
look
at
at
numbers,
numbers, yeah.
and we
100%.
acknowledge that we're not the most viewed platforms, but there's certain people who were thinking that we tend to monopolize the guests. I think it's just guests are comfortable coming.
How? When you say monopolize, what do you mean?
No, I think, like the way, in all honesty, we've had,
Anasema tuna get keep guess. Tunapata
no,
watu tunawakatalia na tunawakataza wasiende kwingine.
and I don't understand where that comes from, because I think we've had very, like
Diverse and
a diverse set of
different,
guests. Like we've had heavy guests, we've had no-name guests. We usually have a very diverse set of guests, but I think what content and platform owners need to understand, that your platform is the energy you have on your platform is gonna attract, like the type of people who are gonna be on that platform. For example, kama wewe ni mtu wa gossip, you're not looking at the OneMic show.
No,
you're definitely not looking at the OneMic show.
Udaku.com is zero.
There's other platforms that do that very well, and kudos to them. And I think that's a reason why we've been able to maintain a balance, like when it comes to serious topics, social topics, which is a very difficult
Funny,
balance.
educational.
Yeah, it's a very difficult balance to maintain.
I don't know about gatekeeping, but when the guy from TZ by the name of Alikiba says this is the best interview he's ever had on this show. Vindication again.
Anyway,
So-
tuendelee.
Like I said. I'll
Yeah.
repeat.
No, unajua kitu mnafaa kuambia watu ni hii.
Mm.
When you have a guest in front of you, you have a chance of either making that guest comfortable, and once they are comfortable, they'll be more open up to talking to you willingly, and even open up things that most listeners haven't heard or didn't expect. Than when you just go, instead of doing your research, you just go and look at what's trending about this guest and talk about that. Because even when you're interviewing somebody, they want to feel like at least unamjua kidogo, like make effort like
You have Googled the guy.
if all you're known is just like ukijifanya ni Jorogan, kazi yako ni kuuliza maswali za kuchapisha watu, people won't come to you. It's simple as that. Like, you also have to respect your guests and respect yourself.
You have to.
Kama unataka mshene, piga mshene na mabeste zako, but on your platform, just make your platform be what it's supposed to be.
All right.
Because utapata 1,000 likes za hiyo mshene umepost, but hautapata any more guests, alafu hizo 1,000 likes zitapotea. Bakira likes zangu 2, but niko na consistency. And somebody knows they can come and speak their mind here without being coerced or forced to say what they don't want to say.
Absolutely. I mean, that's it. That's the bottom line. Like you said, Ali, we may not have the millions or whatever, but tuko sawa. As we talk about pasta, let me mention here what, and this I think we can sort of start, not generalizing, but we can start sort of laying a foundation, because here let's say in the DMV, there are very many churches.
Yeah.
I think Baltimore kuna churches mob sana. And the funny thing is, over here, Stephen Batty is saying, "Washake dirago bas." You, it's going to hurt churches. I hear huko Arlington, the SDAs have churches that are now clan oriented. I don't know what that means. Well, I guess that they are clans, and those clans have got SDA.
No, the clans within the SDA community.
Kuna clans.
And then each of those clans maybe has their own. That's what I'm understanding. But
yeah, mnaenda kwa church ya pastor wa clan yenu. It's just the way up at Baltimore, OneMic. Pastor wako sana, watu wanahama na pastor kwa sababu wanapenda huyu ni wa kwao ama wanamjua.
Let me tell you.
That's what basically it's just like we go to the pastor, where the pastor from my clan will go to that church.
There's so much fragmentation, like in churches in Baltimore. You just hear so and so ameanza church yake, walikosana uko na the head pastor or whatever ameanza yake. The one who moves, whoever he picks as his deputy, wanakosana. Deputy anaenda kwanza yake.
Splinter.
Ile mbaya.
Like multi-party.
Bro, it probably even worse. Multi-party is just like, you have like about 2, 3, maybe
3, 4, 5.
3, 4, 5.
Yes.
Go Kore.
But usually, what's a benefit? You know, like because I'm trying, like when we're thinking of these cults, I'm trying to think from the perspective of you know, like what would lead someone to take this direction.
The victim or the perpetrator, the
Can I
person who's
can I try that?
No, I'm
Can I try that?
trying to think from the perpetrator's mindset too. Like what exactly
It's power, man.
What exactly is in it for them?
it's power, money, respect in their own whatever it is. It's just it because when you think about it, all these people at some point they you know they are in this compound. They are the ones who in that place they are the king. They can't do wrong. They are the king. They are the ones who are the salvation.
But when you're killing all your congregants, how does that benefit
Sasa,
you? You're the
so,
king and you're killing.
I
all
mean, you know, let's go. You remember that?
But then
Jim
Ali,
Jones and all
Ali,
those- Go ahead.
let's take a step back here. This is radicalization. It's simple. It's the same way that they would say terrorists are recruited or any other. Mungiki kula kiapo, right? But now the thing is, we know that religion is basically selling hope, right? It's set, and most of the thing, and this is one thing I've always said. Why is it that most of the time you'll find even gospel artists in Kenya, when they sing music, inakwanga juu ya shida. It's not about praise, it's about shida. Nilikuwa na shida alafu nikaomba nikakuwa na raha. So basically it's about how people are being taught. Like people, life is hard, right? What people live on is hope. Hope of a better day, hope of a better tomorrow. And religion provides that. Now, the one thing that human beings really have is that fear of the unknown, the fear of if I die, where am I going to be? Where am I going to go? Am I going to go to heaven? Now, if you can take that fear and then sell me hope that is wrapped in that fear, hope that lets me know that this suffering is supposed to be like this. And as Draze said, the most of these pastors have the gab of mouth. Like they have the gift of gab. They will talk you to do things that you've not even thought about. They will sell ice to Eskimos by telling them how their ice is much whiter, cleaner, warmer than the one that they have. And once you know how to wrap that hope and you get to a point where now this person is the one who's being seen as the savior. This is the conduit of Jesus. And they know how to wrap it up by using the Bible and using fear to make you get to that. And we end up getting cultism becoming a problem, not only in Kenya, everywhere. You remember the guy here in America, what is it, Jeremiah White, the one in Texas, the one who had people in his compound and it ended up in a bloodbath with the FBI?
Koresh.
David Koresh,
Wasn't that Waco?
Yeah, Waco, Texas. David Koresh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we see it's not just a problem that affects Africa, but as long as there's poverty or as long as human beings believe that in my life I have hope of living better than how I'm living right now, and you tie it down with how we've been raised up in believing in God, and we know that there's a heaven and a hell, and these people just learn how to manipulate it using Bible verses, using the Quran, using whatever method they're using, and they wrap it up into a sweet thing. You yourself, you accept that suffering in the name of this suffering is going to pay off. I'm just suffering for now. This world is not my home. It's temporary. I'm going to the land of milk and to heaven. So it comes quite easy because at the end of the day, hope is what, when people lose hope, they become rebellious. So you have to peddle that hope. Politicians sell hope, right?
Now,
Pastors sell hope. Your job sells you hope. It gives you a hope of, if I work hard, I'm gonna get a pay rise and I'm gonna live better.
In addition to that, let me also add to what Micah is saying. There's also power.
Power dynamic.
Power. Meaning you are people, first and foremost, you know how we in reverence pastor, mheshimiwa, man of God, holy man, prophet, prophetess, whatever. There is a need to want power.
Yeah.
That is one. Two, there's a prosperity gospel attached to that. And you see this sana with this, what are they, Pentecostal? Ni Pentecostal lama wale Pentecostal.
For what? Baptist?
Prosperity.
Prosperity gospel.
Prosperity gospel.
Yeah, Oh, it's actually non-denominational. That's what they call it.
Yeah. So there's power, right? There's the prosperity, but most of all, I think what Micah said, I think he has hit it. There's hope, and once our traditional beliefs were substituted, when they came and told us this, and it was always rammed through our throats, even growing up as toys. If you don't get saved, you'll go to hell in the burning fire and brimstone. And that, imagine you're 6 years old. All you hear is if you don't get saved, you'll go to the fiery pits of hell.
Now I don't know. Like as a Muslim, we look at this. We come with a very different perspective when it comes to this. Now, first, like regardless of what religion you profess, I think it's important to separate, like cultism from, people who just follow, like genuine religion. People believe in different things. But I think there has to be a clear separation, because I think also what's happening is that these two are also being mixed, and there was a lot of fake memes being produced, like showing, like mainstream leaders with these guys, like some Photoshop pictures that were being produced.
Yeah.
So I think, like it gets the narrative a bit entangled and not very clear. So I think it's important to separate, like a cult where people are being set, like in a certain place in a forest, and they're being told not to eat and just stay there, and they will redeem themselves, or they will go to heaven or whatever, from like just a genuine church or a genuine place of worship. I think that's very important in order to be able to understand the whole circus of what's happening. Now, one conversation that we're having in our Muslim groups is we were so happy if we were just trying to thinking out loud. If Pastor Mackenzie was, let's say, a Sheikh Badawy, who had called some Muslims and set them up in a forest, how would this have been received?
All the Muslims would have been rounded up. They would have been in a stadium.
Like we were just talking, and we've always wondered, like how come, like when someone does something crazy in a Syrian desert, he makes a video and kills someone on video. I always wonder, and we've always wondered, why are you coming to ask me, Ali Badawi?
But you're a Muslim. Why wouldn't you know?
Why is that? And to me,
so you guys talk. They call you guys first before they do those things.
And you see, to me, this is where I think we also have to disentangle our thinking.
Correct.
Where rightfully so, Pastor Mackenzie and that other guy, what was he called, Ezekiel. They were separated.
Kwanza Ezekiel is from Rusinga Island.
They were, oh my goodness. So maybe you might even be related.
But in his defense, they are still trying
investigating.
They are still trying to tie him in. It's almost like they are forcing that thing and saying this chap here ameingia hapa kwa box.
Okay, but I like the way, like it's been separated. This is a separate issue, and it's not being tied to the mainstream church. I don't know why it's always very easy when a Muslim does something to rope in
it's all Muslims.
Everyone.
Yes, it's all Muslims.
Yeah.
Yes,
So this is a conversation, like we've been discussing, and I think, like one benefit that we have as Muslims, we're not saying that there's no crazes in our communities.
No, there are crazes. Like Draze said, in every religion you have got the extremists.
Yes, there are crazes. But I think the benefit that we have you know, like in the Muslim community, despite all our differences, there's still one text in one version that we all agree upon,
The Quran.
and there's not necessarily a monopoly of who is allowed to interpret
So
it.
you have the Quran.
Yes.
Period. There's no
That's
more.
it.
There's no.
There's
King
no
James-
variation
here-
of it.
so
There's
here
no
we have-
King James versions,
Yeah.
the modern versions, I don't know, ISO. New red letter edition,
Yeah.
I don't know, zero.
So you know there's one criticism I sometimes hear, kwa nini mnafanya maombi yenyu kwa Kiarabu. It's a criticism that I constantly hear, but rightfully so.
Wait.
No, but the Jews use Nini.
But rightfully so. No, but with Muslims is regardless of whatever part of the world you come from.
Yeah, but all Jews, see, they use their
But
Hasidic Nini.
remember, Jews are also mostly, yes. Jews also use their
Yes.
yeah, but you know, like Jews in as far as the cross section of the world, you know, like with Waislamu utapata Waislamu kila kona ya dunia. Jews are a bit more
Understood.
Yeah, okay.
Jews are
I
a
guess
bit more
Greek
ethnically.
there's Greek and then there's
Yeah.
but still they still all they all subscribe to the same Hasidic Nini.
but you see, my point here is one of the reasons why, you know, like we've tried or maybe it's stayed the text, you know, there's translations available, but you always have to
Hasn't
learn
changed.
you always have to learn the original version. It's very important to learn the original version. Is that when it comes to translation, you sometimes start to seeing varying words because of Arabic has some words that are just not available in other words. You would see something translated as someone falling, and then ukisoma translation ya Kiswahili inasema kudidimia. But kwa Kiarabu, there's a specific word. There's a specific type
Yes.
of fall
Yes.
that they were talking about. That type of fall can only be found in Arabic. There is dust. There's a special dust that comes up when horses are moving.
Right.
It's not just dust, it has a special name.
Okay.
But now when you're translating in other languages, you now
just
have
call
to
it
start
dust.
you now have to start describing it. No, because it's
Yeah,
important.
you
can't just call it dust
yes,
because it's
it has to be the
important
dust from the yes,
in
got
the
it.
context of what's being read. It's important for
Yes,
the reader to
understood,
know that it's a
understood.
dust that's coming up from when the horses are
as
trotting.
they were galloping.
So these are small details, but these are the things that make it easier once you start, you know, like just producing texts that are in different languages. It becomes very easy now to some
change,
intentional
yeah.
and some maybe by misunderstanding.
Omission,
it becomes
not
easier
necessarily, yeah.
It becomes easier to change.
Before I read the comments,
Yeah.
You remember there's a time, and I think this was during when was it Al-Qaeda, the Caliphate? Sio naitwaje?
ISIS.
ISIS.
Yeah.
And you know, people are asking, you know, kwani Muslim leaders are not condemning, they're not coming out or whatever. And you came and you actually told us and said, listen, in fact, you sent us a link.
They had been crying foul.
They had written.
Yes.
They had.
It's called a fatwa. It's called a fatwa. I mean, since CNN misinterprets what a fatwa is, but a fatwa is a ruling, you know, on something that's happening in the society, and then the ulamas or the scholars get together
That one.
and they issue a ruling on what is happening.
They
yeah.
did that. And we're like, why is it that people are not, because these guys have come out highlighting.
Yes.
These guys, you know, like now these are the
because you
the
can't
big dogs,
you
the top
can't
dogs.
because you
Yes.
cannot
Right?
sell the narrative if you highlight.
And you see, in that ruling, they were actually giving verses of the Quran highlighting what and hadith of the Prophet highlighting why what ISIS was doing was un-Islamic
yeah, it was out of
and was wrong. And this was by consensus. It wasn't just
It wasn't that is juu
watu wa Mombasa ndio walisema
no,
ama watu wa nini
it was
no.
by consensus. It was muftis in different countries, you know, like the top, it was by consensus. It was by a number of people across different countries.
So now there's that aspect, you know, and that goes to, you know, I'm questioning, you know, why, you know, like now, for example, there could be, but have you had any religious leaders in Kenya say anything, or have they come out and rebuked this guy or whatever? You know, like they have come out vehemently and said this is not the way. Anyone, apart from even just the other day, the government, Kithuri, just landing over there a week after when these things started popping out. So again, my point is this, like, and Stephen JJ actually says it best. He says over here, Kenyans are, we as people are very gullible. Washake says all cult leaders are very intelligent and charismatic.
True.
That's how they win followers. So there's the idea of power. Yes, the poverty in Africa provides the fodder for the cult, for cult leaders to recruit, and they target women. If you want the whole family to come to church, win women first. Kwani hizi vitu zinaenda wapi bwana? Win women
first.
Don't you speak bad about the man of God, Kenyan proverb? No, have you heard that before?
Yeah. No, in Kenya, there's like, I think, is it 3 people who can do no wrong? I think it's a doctor, a preacher. What's that? The third one? I wasn't going to say the president, but there's 3 of them. And everything that they say is the word, according to that particular person. So like if the doctor says, you need to take this medicine, you just go full-fledged. Nobody's checking to see that this is this the dawa that is good for this. Hakuna mutu anacheki, wewe unaenda nayo. The preacher tells you this is what you're supposed to do. Go home and cane your child 16 times and then run around a tree and come back and do what, and then come back with a offering. That's what they do. And the law. And the law. Those are the 3 people. Whatever the policeman says, it has to be right.
In other words, like me notice, in other words, what
yes.
she's saying over here, touch not the anointed.
Well,
touch not the anointed.
You see, that's in the Bible.
But
the deciphering of that stuff, because there are things that are left out. It's always like the way people talk about that money is the root of all evil. And then they stop there.
The love of money.
Yeah, and then they stop there, but they don't go into the behind the scenes and all of that stuff.
But I think because people were asking the question, should the government be culpable? I think there's certain culpability the government has, because this guy had been reported. This thing it wasn't a mystery. Like people had known, and this is dating back to 2017.
Yes.
So there's some culpability that the government has. I think they need to take responsibility. But I think it's most important for the church, the religious establishment, to rein in, to self-regulate and rein in.
And they do have a body.
Yes.
And they normally come out a lot of times, especially on politics, so to speak.
But that's why I'm saying
something, right?
But that's why I'm saying they need to self-regulate, because guess what? There must be a lot of other smaller Pastor Mackenzies who have just not been discovered. So unless the religious establishment reins in, and I understand part of the reason maybe why they don't want to get involved in this is they don't want to be told that nyinyi mnataka tu watu wakuje kwa hiyo kanisa yenu. But I think if the Christian establishment in Kenya does not sit down and in a united fashion rein in on these doomsday cults that are proliferating in different parts of the country, I'm afraid to say this is not the last time that we're going to be seeing a Pastor Mackenzie.
Let me ask. I wanted to ask. Well, you talked about the government kidogo culpable. And if so, then what could or should have the government done?
I'm glad you asked. So, when Ali was talking about going back to 2017, there were charges that had already been levied against this guy. The local police stations knew about this. In fact, to date, he still has cases from 2017 that are still not fully finished. The judiciary came out and wrote a whole big thing, step by step. Now, ilifika ile stage that now someone had to go back and cover their matako and say, hey, let's go check on this guy. Ndio kupata kweli, ujama alikuwa na makesi chungu nzima for different situations. In 2018 or 2019, Aisha Jumwa had come out because her constituents came out saying, watoto wetu. Wamepotea, ujamaa amewachukua na amekata kuwarudisha. So what do you mean? So they actually went to his compound and rescued kids. Like 90 of them.
Eish.
Sasa, this thing was taken to court. Alipelekwa kotini, nini. I guess the case was
and
logged,
he maneuvered his way.
whatever it is, and he was released and he came out. When he came out and told and gave her stern warning. Where? Ebu, stay away from me, don't try nini. Now, if you're that area chap who has gone through all of this and you've gone and you've done whatever's supposed to be done, and this chap comes out na anatoka ameingia na ametoka, it's like he walked in and walked out, and nothing being done. And these things are piling. It's not that it's just that one. They're piling. Again, from 2017, these things are piling. Uni mtu alingia huko, I think hiyo kanisa yake alianza 14. And they continue. It got to the point where I guess there was enough charges that ilifika point where his TV station was banned.
Yeah, because he was doing evangelism.
Yes,
he was a televangelist.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's where now Ezekiel came in. Ezekiel bought the station.
Okay.
Ezekiel bought the station from this guy. So the difference, Ezekiel pia yunimsewa Kilifi, by the way. Kanisa yake iko Kilifi. This guy also kanisa yake iko wapi? Kilifi. Difference is this chap is sitting on 800 acres, Ezekiel is on 65. And him is building and all of that, blah blah blah. And he came into the news because last year when he went to Kasarani, he filled the stadium up.
This Ezekiel guy.
Yes.
Ezekiel.
Yes, he he filled the stadium up.
Now from his televangelism.
Yes, I guess
that's
so.
where his popularity
I guess so.
Okay.
And the guy, and people are like, who is this guy? Asi hatujawahi msikia na amekuja amejaza study and he's not Prophet Owuor. What's going on? You know what I'm saying? But then it's kind of like,
is he the guy who's building a church apo Kilifi apo Mazeras?
I think so. And he has it inside. It's in a compound, right?
600. It's a 600, I think, acre or whatever joint.
No. The guy building sasa huyo ndio huyo nani? This one here, Mackenzie. This other guy is not. This guy I don't think is building in Mazeras.
Okay. There's a guy who's huge in Kilifi. Sorry, but
they are both huge in Kilifi, and Mackenzie is the one who's more huge. But Mackenzie, a lot of people speak in harsh tones about him. They're kind of like scared because they're like, ujamaa ni kama.
He can finish you.
Yes, you don't speak it out. There's a very interesting interview on YouTube with a parent who had 4 kids who were under this chap. He was able to get 2 back. And then, I think he got back 3. Then CG1 ended up going back from uni. Then another one, CG from CG standard 8, left chuo, went. Alafu kuna ule sasa alikuwa, I think form 3 or something like that. This kid went, left the place, went home, and refused to eat. The dad basically would be called. He goes to school, gets the guy, brings him back. They pray for him. Nini, blah, blah, blah. The kids refuse to eat. And when I say the kid, this guy is CG form 2. Amekata kukula. Unfortunately, he ended up passing away. This kid. Now, as the pastor Sasa has gone, and this guy, he's telling his story, not the pastor, the parent has gone around, ameandika mabarua, ameenda kwa DCI, ameenda kwa IG, amepelekwa sijui kwa nini, he went all the way mpaka DCI headquarters, akapewa barua, akarudi back to the county, you come to the local DCI office so that they can pursue and then go with him, waende kule wapi? Mombasa, kutoa mtoto. Watoto wako huko wawili, lakini yeye mwenyewe haezi watoa. But when he calls the guy answers the phone and tells him, if you want your kids, you come for them. Come for them and talk to them.
But the kids have been indoctrinated to a point.
It's brainwash 101. Au wanajua hii ndio kanisa na wanaenda binguni na ujamaa haezi fanya kitu mbaya. And the kids get on the phone and tell the parents, you come. Kwani you don't love me? Now this is a parent narrating. So eventually the parents pia wanaingia box.
Now,
so it's a whole brainwash thing na imeanza na watoto ndio sawa wanaleta paros na wameingia hapo, and as you go unajua wanaenda kuingia hapo, by the time unaingia kwa compound, and the compound is guarded by who? Cops. Utoki. And as you're coming, when mtu unakuja ukiingia unafikiri unakuja kuchukua watoto wako, at a certain point these guys are brainwashed. All their material possessions, they sign them over, they sell their stuff, bring the guy cash, and they're just there.
But now,
it's sad. It's
like,
very, very sad.
Like, here's the thing. I get the point where the government where they try to take him to court, and of course the judiciary is the only one with the power of convicting him. They take him to court, and one reason or another, he maneuvers himself and gets away with it. But I'm trying, I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to think, and I'm trying to ask myself, when it failed in court, why couldn't the government, pop up and
those cases have not fully been adjudicated.
I understand, but the government has powers like child protective services.
Correct.
For example, if you're holding kids, they're not going to school, they're not with their parents, you have departments like child protective services.
He has cases for even his own kids, not taking them to school, holding them in, and not giving them I don't know what nourishment nini. Also, so hizo charges ziko chungu nzima, lakini makesi hazijamalizika.
So you see, the other question that pops up, where I constantly talk about, there's different kinds of literacies that people need to learn and be taught in school and universities, which I keep talking about. Remember Zamani, when people could not read or write, it was a big deal just to learn how to read or write.
Correct.
So people got to learn how to read or write. But now there's something called, then at some point computers came, people were asked to be computer literate. And then now there's something that's called data literacy, to learn about data and everything. But then there's another kind of literacy that's really being ignored, and that's a big deal, and that's what's making a lot of people susceptible. And that's called informational literacy. You see how sometimes when we receive information, it could be information of any kind.
Yes.
On WhatsApp especially. To me, WhatsApp is one of the most notorious platforms for bad information. You get a screenshot and you have a conversation about it, like it's something that actually happened. And I will give an example. A few weeks ago, there was a situation of Ashraf Hakimi and the wife. And this story was being talked about like it's something that actually happened. When you ask people, what is your source? It's a blog from another blog that copied from another blog. It was a blog gone wild. But people were they even getting harsh when you tell them that this is not true.
They went with it.
Yeah, people just ran with it, and people walikuwa nakosana, people are making up all these stories. So now when it comes back to these cults operate easily in an environment where people believe anything. These guys are so careful, they know how to package this information, and this is how it becomes easy to deceive people. So if you start, teaching your kids early, forget about even teaching your kids. I think even parents are illiterate. I think parents are also illiterate when it comes to imambo ya information, whereby you would not even know what to teach your kid, because you also are susceptible to these bits and pieces of information that you're getting and you're just believing.
If you're solely fully transfixed on Fox News, what do you expect? Omosh, some of those comments.
I don't. Okay, let me see. Let me start with. I think we had the last time you talked about. Let's see. Where are we? Don't you speak bad about the man of God? Blah 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 blah. Okay. So Slay is like Minotis Poleni had to be somewhere else. Okay. Washeke is like the three people is a politician, doctor, and pastor. The ones who you cannot do no wrong. And Washeka was the provost of All Saints Cathedral, spoke about self-regulation on Spice FM. So to answer, about the church and self-regulation, Stephen Batty. So apparently this is his home area, Kilifi, Nimsewa Kilifi. He says, by the way, Mackenzie ni Mkamba kwa mujibu wa habari. And I will end it there. History ya umma, especially when it's from my backyard, and also the past 2 years, the drought assisted in this issue. And by the way, that church is in Kilifi County around Mazeras and is huge.
And I've seen the church.
Bas, ndio nasema. And Washeke asked him if the church in Mazeras is Ezekiel's or another pastor's. I'll see what he says. And he said, he said that he's checking, and that's Ezekiel's church. It's 4-story, quarters, primary school, secondary school, and yeah, that's Ezekiel's, not what's his name?
This church,
Mackenzie.
this
Mackenzie.
church that we are referring, that one. People drive all the way from Western.
Yes, the
This-
place is always full.
That place
Yes.
is packed. In
That place
fact,
always
there he's
full, yeah.
building. They're building hotels.
Yes.
In fact, they have started to be bandas. Have started
And-
popping
and
up
you
on
know-
the roadside.
Interesting. These churches, most of the people there. I mean, I can't say this factually, but from what I was seeing, most of the people who are attending this church are not locals. Are people who moved from other communities into Kilifi.
Yes.
I-
And people are flying. People fly in. I have a relative who shocked my mother. My mother did not even know, but our relative who flew in to Mombasa,
So I think
drove to that church,
To get the nini, the handkerchief.
the handkerchief and
To
the
buy
water, whatever it
yes,
was.
Yes.
And then, so they flew out, then they took the bus back.
So I think these people are particularly targeting those communities because that's something that I noticed. I mean, I could be wrong, but mi sikuona Wagiriama sana hapo katika hiyo group ya watu walikuwa wamenyakwa. They were mostly getting, like Kilifi has people from, a lot of people who live there from other parts, from Ukambani, from where, those are the people who are being targeted.
Yeah,
from what I
so
saw.
this parent down there, I watched his story. He's a Luya who lives huko in Siaya.
Look at that.
Sasa how watoto wake alienda, how they
How
ended
did
up
they
over
end
there,
up there?
mi sielewi.
Yeah. And when you're not, because if you're local, your people are going to come and get you.
And that seems to, and then it seems like that they don't mess necessarily with the locals. They may mess with some of them, but locals pengine ni wale wa kufanya kazi, jamaa gate, sijui
Yes.
jamaa sijui nini.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
So, if I may ask, I know time is up. If I may ask, Brother Paul, can we put Brother Paul in the same WhatsApp group with this?
Kamlesh.
Yes, Kamlesh Patni.
Kamlesh alikuwa naiba tu. Kamlesh ni mwizi.
Kamlesh
Yeah,
is-
hajaua
he,
mtu.
he has not told you to
Yeah, he hasn't
Kamlesh
told you
just
to fast.
he just told you just go melt your spoons, sijui nini
But
nini,
just
bring
because
the
he hasn't
cash.
told you to fast and whatever does not
Yeah,
mean
is just
he's
stealing.
not a.
Amechukua dudo.
He should be convicted for stealing, for theft. That's what I don't think Brother Paul has. But why he became Brother Paul like that, I mean, I don't even understand.
You
And
know,
then
but
people
I can guess why.
follow
See,
him.
Kenya is what, 80-90% Christian. In fact, if anything, haven't we heard that Kenyan is a Christian nation? In fact, have we not had somebody kneel down and pray and speak in tongues? So my question always now ends up being, okay, so what about our Muslim brothers, the Singhs,
The Sikhs, the
Sikhs, the Hindus, the
Yeah.
Korea, the atheists, like
See,
So where-
Prezi and Gashagwa tried to panda the other day.
all I said.
Very annoying. That was one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen.
Ali,
So
just leave it alone. And you know what makes it worse is that was done during the holy month of Ramadan. Why didn't you pick another time to say tunakuja na nyinyi kudua? You could have picked any other time. You had to do this thing during when you watered
It was
down
a
Ramadan.
mockery.
You
It was
watered
a
it
mockery.
down.
Now you see the problem is sasa Waislamu sasa katika group zetu kuna vitu zingine sasa watu walikuwa wanaanza kusema mpaka hata I was like, guys, just chill out, because before you go for prayer,
Yes.
there's a way in which you're supposed to clean yourself. There's a reason
To
why
cleanse and present yourself as
not
right?
even cleanse. We're talking about physical cleaning.
Yeah, but that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Like you go when you are
so
pure
there's a
clean.
way in which you're supposed to clean yourself. For example, that's the reason why we use water when we go to the restroom, because usipotumia maji, one of the things that you can't do is huwezi kwenda kwa swala. I mean, you can do your own private supplication, but you cannot perform the obligatory prayers if you've not used water. Sasa, there's a term we have for people who are unclean, and cannot come to prayer, who have a natural uncleanliness and cannot come to prayer, and that's called najis. Like, for example, if you do not use water when you go to the restroom, there's a residue that remains behind, na unaambiwa uko na najis. Sasa, you know, like people were talking about Ruto and Gachagua.
They went there.
As people who went there because they don't know this. You know, like they don't know this.
Yes.
And the good thing that I came to find out, that wasn't inside a mosque. That wasn't inside a mosque. It was an event
It was a photo op.
No, it was an event at KICC. It was
What
not
if-
inside
okay,
a mosque.
Okay.
So at least that was a relief to a lot of people.
So that one at least was kind of sort of
it was a relief to a lot of people because a mosque is a sacred place for worship.
Mm-hmm.
And mara nyingi hata kama wewe ni president, you know, like when you'd even go see President Jakaya Kikwete, like akienda msikitini, there's no prioritization.
Yeah, there's no upresidency.
Pali ile time amefika, yule mwenye anakaa safu ya mbele ni mwenye alifika fast. Yeah.
Correct.
So we kama umefika late
we saw that. Remember we saw it when we went.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and you guys have also
Yes.
had the opportunity of coming
Yes.
inside the mosque.
Yes.
You know, like it's whoever comes first.
Fast come, fast serve.
And you know, and we allow non-Muslims in the mosque, but then what's now not allowed is now you're taking part, you know, like in ritual prayer where you really don't know exactly what you're doing. Yeah, I know. I mean that was just that was so disgusting. And those Muslim politicians who facilitated that, Adan Duale, Hassan Sarai.
Where were their heads?
You know, like wamepewa zao. You know, like wamepewa zao really. You know, like they've not been able. Remember, Hassan Sarai has had a very difficult time. You know, like getting re-elected to any position in Mombasa. So I think for him, because he's not in an elected position, I think for him it's just kind.
Yeah.
But I think the message came out loud and clear. You know, like Muslims are not happy about that. Yes, vaa kanzu, vaa kofia, hiyo ni sawa, lakini time ya swala bana usije hapo kutukosea heshima.
You know, after that
it's very insensitive.
that Mackenzie video came out. Now, those clips of videos of pastors. I mean, for example, somebody who has... Okay. I'm not saying that they're the same what's up. You know, you have Pastor Nganga.
Yes. Remember those Kanyari?
310. Ule mse wa magnesium permanganate.
Mm-hmm. There are so many.
Hata huyu Prophet Owor.
Na Bishop Wanjiko.
And
what's this one who was in Times Square?
The prophetess.
Yes.
Who? The one with 7 bodyguards.
The one with an Indian was
That
married
one.
to some Indian
That guy.
Yeah. I mean, and then kuna wale wa kutoa ati wanakupatia nguvu za kiume. Live.
Yes.
And then, you know, like
You saw that-
when you look
you
at
saw
this,
that one?
when you saw this clip, how about the pastor who raised somebody from the dead in South Africa? You saw that?
I saw that one.
In fact, that one I put for my mother when she had come to visit in 2019. I'm like, Mom, ebu keti hapa unaniambie how true this is.
Watch out that one. There was another one. He was rising to heaven, and then there was a hole in the roof, and he was being pulled up, and he went. And I mean, I don't know how they did it, but yeah, akaenda na hiyo skilling ikafu ameenda heaven.
So there's a lot of gullibility with
in
nguvu za
religion.
kiume, yes.
Yeah,
There's-
in
there's-
religion,
and in religion, and especially in poor parts.
It's
In Kenya.
but it's poverty.
Poverty.
You have no otherwise. You umefika,
And
you've
they're
hit
being
the
sold
wall,
for hope.
and the pastor is this guy is gonna get me out of my situation. Akisema, we need to go and kill 10
Atani
goats,
sort.
or we go kill our neighbor and get the neighbor's blood, and that's what we need to do. The pastor said, this
Even-
is what's gonna get us out of this curse.
You remember the pastor who said he cannot fly in coach because there are demons and whatever in the career, so he needed his own private jet. Mzungu huku. You remember the scandal with Benny Hinn? It was a documentary that was
Yes,
done by I
yes.
think it was Dateline, but it's there.
But remember,
So-
hizi mambo zilianza in high school. In high school, there was also a lot of movements. I don't know whether they're still there in high schools today.
Those my prophets.
There was a lot of movements within high schools
Kina Reinhard
that
Bonke.
were cultish.
Let me tell you. But this, you know, they didn't start in high school. Aliwacha nikuambie. And I'm telling you for free because I know. This thing starts when you're like 6, 7. I remember some of my family members getting saved huko 1987. 87.
Yeah. And
And every time, like one day, one of them, wameenda Kadunda, 2 weeks later, ameokoka. Ni Biblia.
now wanaenda kukesha. Sindio? And
Bro.
then they come back from kesharing, they have a girlfriend. So you're like, okay, wait a minute. How do you come from kesharing and you have a girlfriend?
Let me tell you. When you're like, you're impressionable. You're 10, 11. All you're being told. Fear is being shoved down your throat. Like, if you don't get saved,
You'll go to hell.
you're going to hell.
Eternal fire.
That is it. And if you don't confess, if you don't witness, if you don't stand in front of people and tell them, like, yo, if you don't do this,
Inaitwa kuungama.
if you don't confess, if you don't witness, if you don't proclaim, ni muhadhara. Now, this is when you're from 12, 11,
That's
10.
true, yeah.
Boss, ukiingia, see you in high school was one of the most interesting Christian union.
But you only entered it in third form because you knew exams were coming in fourth.
You see, that's another thing. Guys are entering CU because of that, and some people entering because of funkies. But also, it's pressure.
But it also had
famous.
You could go to girls' schools. Nobody would suspect unaenda ko.
But there are guys who so it's not that so the pressure will build. But also high school was one of those where if you're saved, you are a minority. A proper, thorough minority. Because now you're talking about funkies, hormones. Like if you're having, like now for example, if you guys have Science Day.
Science Congress.
Science Congress. And then, mademo wanakuja kila kitu. Yoko, hallelujah, in Jesus' name, can I preach to you? Pressure. And then jamas are like, yo, bro, ukileta hiyo mambo ya Biblia, you're going to scrub floors, you're going to chew quad. You're going to chew quad. So there was pressure. But, it's one of Nairobi Pentecostal, NPC. That was the hangout joint.
Watu walikuwa kenda
That's where guys used
Valley
to go.
Road.
Valley Road. That's everywhere. Umse anatoka umo anaenda
that
huko.
church was kwanza kwaya ya mayut.
So I remember the okay, what wameingia hapa? Handkerchiefs. There are Kenyans here in the US that buy those handkerchiefs, holy water.
Yes, and all the time. And they send, in fact, even those, I haven't seen them lately, but they used to, which I don't watch too much late night TV, but remember they would have those ads where the guy comes on, then sijui, I don't know, they tell you dial this number, call at you just nini.
Holy water, yes.
You will get your holy water to nini, this will change your life.
Or
it's only at least 10 bob.
Sijui,
I don't know.
The shit that has been peddled. Who called
Wow.
late night? Let me give a big shout out to my cousin over here, Ada Keyo Cheng. Ayuko 254. But now I hope we see him to Mackenzie. See you. Alafu mambo ya ku backslide. Wawa, kwanza if you backslid.
But all of those jamas backslid around after mocks. When exams came out and things were bad.
Bro.
Backslide 101.
Well, if you got a B minus, ulipita. Nayo.
I'm telling you, Jama.
Until it was time for you to come, then you're like, oh, I'm going to get myself straight with God. Let me get that visa. Wahenga walinena kilicho na mwanzo hakina budi kwa na mwisho. Meli.
Quick before that, mwisho, there's a comment that Washeke, wrote here. She said that, I remember then our principal used to bring a pastor the whole week and everyone was forced to attend, including Muslims.
Correct.
So you see,
Ali, you have brought this thing up severally.
I brought it up severally. Now, the thing is, schools like Changes and Patch were very progressive on this issue for a very long time.
Separation, right?
Yeah. Like Muslims were never ever forced to, but this was a very common thing that people sometimes just want to brush over it. Like I have, I think I've told you this story. I have an aunt. This was back in the 60s, who was expelled from Mogweri Gangs.
Yes, you've told me that story.
And when she comes to the US,
head wrap, right?
No, because she was a Muslim.
Oh, no, not because that she was wearing a head
No,
wrap.
she wasn't even wearing a head wrap or anything. Because on the first day that she went to school
to report,
yes, she was expelled. And these are things that were happening in public schools in Kenya. I think I want to say, is it Consolata?
Primary?
Consolata. There was, and this was a while back. There's a cousin of mine who was asked, they would admit, I think they would admit, like non-Catholics, and maybe
Yeah,
even
they did.
maybe
They did.
maybe
They
even
did admit
Christians.
none. Yeah.
But there's a cousin of mine who was once asked to change a name. Another very notorious school that especially attendees like denying this, Strathmore School. It was very notorious at doing this. Maybe it stopped at some point. But then when we were attending, sometimes they would just tell you mapema, like, we're not going to admit you because we're in Muslim. Like, these were things that were happening. And at least Strathmore will say that's a private school. So we can let that slide. But these were things like people being forced to attend church service.
Yeah,
these were very normal things.
That was very common. The church service thing, especially like now I do know that a lot of high schools, and that's something that I saw at least in my high school, even in primary school. My primary school, I have to give kudos to the headmaster. He was Goan. So I think alikuwa amenyita hiyo story. So in fact we had Muslims, and so when we would break out, like let's say time ya CRE, ao walikuwa naenda
IRE.
Walikuwa naenda, yes. They used to go to a separate room and everything, and in fact they were even allowed to wear, like the girls would wear their uniform plus pants inside, right? And then hata walikuwa saa zingine they would cover their hair. It all depends on the older you got, they would be allowed to come dressed that way, wanaeka mahina manini nini and all of that, and were allowed, they even had an area where they could go pray, all through. And this was primo, right? Seko, I saw the separation again, that, that where it was allowed, and the religion was actually, guys really, it was embraced by the school system. So at some point, and, I'm talking, this is quite a while back. Yeah, it's a while back. But
I'm not saying anything.
It was embraced. Now, there were areas that I know it didn't matter what you were. Uingie huko na shule ni Catholic, you're a Catholic. Period. There is no other story.
Wow. Another notorious public school.
No story.
Another notorious public school, Kenya High. And that's a national school. To me, Kenya High was one of the worst culprits because it's a national school. It admits students from all over the country.
Yes. And all religions and backgrounds.
And they were denying for a very long time, like a lot of Muslim leaders had their eye on that school because they were denying Muslim students from wearing hijab. This was the interesting thing. Wale walikuwa, what are they called? Wakorino. Walikuwa naruhusiwa. But for some reason, like, iyo hijab walikataza. And I think at some point it changed. But for a very long time, that was also another.
But Kalasingas were allowed to wear. I think maybe that's why Wakorino were being allowed, because it's like, okay, if you've allowed Kalasingas to wear the turban,
yes,
why aren't you letting the Wakorinos wear their turban?
Yes,
so okay, hawa wameingia wako WhatsApp group moja,
lakini Waislamu walikatazwa kuvaa hijab. So those are things that were very difficult to understand at the time.
And Muslim girls for us is that we used to see, okay, ato wameva kila kitu.
Oh, Muslim girls was like, everything.
I was like, hey, boy, I love
what is paswa?
But now you see the interesting thing, Muslim girls, non-Muslims were not forced to wear,
and they were admitted.
They were admitted, yes. They were not forced to wear hijab. They were not forced to wear.
Hames Olango says gullibility. Wote hawasomi Biblia. That's what happens when you let someone read and interpret the Bible for you. Ati unagawiwa nguvu za kiume. Highway secondary peer separation. I am glad we had separation. I was Catholic and I was forced to attend along with
the Muslim classmates, forced to attend services. Yeah.
Then Shiro Mushai Odongo says, I am actually shocked that all these pastors who are indoctrinating folks are jangos. Yes, Cukes all have relatives who are pastors. Yes. Or everyone, I think. Mahujia. Burhania.
Burhania, that's in Mombasa.
Primary school, Mombasa. They all wore hijab. Just religion, very important. Hata even understood mambo ya kufast. Then my dad worked at EPZ. So after exams, he would always take me to work with him. Time for prayer is time for prayer. Once you grow up accepting other religion, hauna shida accept watu. I mean, we shall see where this progresses to. Hii mambo ya Mackenzie. Na wahenga walinena kilicho na mwanzo hakina budi kuwa na mwisho. Meli imetia nanga. Let's wrap this puppy up. I think Micah dropped off. Bundles
yeah. It was
Togende.
Our guests, you guys have tried. Maze leo tumewapeleka marathon, even what was it? A break for air, 0.
Gotile.
Hakuna si mulikata break. Mulikata break ni fans ndo walikata break. Yeah,
so it's kina Slay, kina Sheke,
ni fans, yeah.
Nini,
wanataka teke, mambo teke.
Shiromushai, all of these people, Steven JJ, watu wote ndio wa nini.
Yep, mambo teke, hawataki break.
Okay, anyway.
Aina ngori.
It's all right. My fans are Santeni. We're supposed to be back here next week, but
actually, we're not gonna be here next week.
That you see, I was nyinyi na kuruka.
But get to the point, Basi. Stop beating about the bush.
Siwezi enda kuiba na wewe. We'll be caught. Anyway.
Actually, it's the other way around. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm very silent when I move. So, like I was saying, next week, we're not gonna be here because we actually have what's the right word? We have an event that we need to attend, and it's for one of our family members here. So we really, really apologize. We're not going to be here next week. However, for those of you who are here with us, who continue to hang with us, the weekend after that, tutakuwa hapa kama bacteria. And hopefully by then, I know we touched a little bit on this story of Kilifi. Hopefully by then, we will know more, and there'll be more information that's coming across to us and telling us how we need to move and what it is that we need to do with that information. And we'll give it to you. We'll try to package it in a manner that makes sense, and at least we can sit down and chambua on it. I know today we had the subject of with our guests of bringing us the Madaraka Festival. More to come on that, but yes, it's a 4-city tour at this point. Actually, yes, 4-city tour. It's Seattle, Atlanta, Dallas, and
Seattle,
and New York.
Or New York.
Yeah, and they start in New York. Yeah. So there's going to be 2 events actually in Seattle. From what he said, there's a June 1st show, and it seems like they're still talking. They may end up adding more shows. So if you are interested, I think it would behoove you. You can come over here and let us know, or go to the Madaraka Festival. Nini, send them a message, have your favorite promoter, talk to them, because they're willing, they're open, as long as everything lines up and it's right. Watu Atlanta, tumesikia vile mumelia for the last time when Sautisol was there, and they're seeing, their comments are being read, and I'm pretty sure they're going to give you a very, very good show. Me, I can vouch for Sautisol, because I've dealt with them personally, and I know the products that they put across, and those guys don't leave anything behind. As long as they're there and everything is lining up, you'll get a good show. And there's a whole slew of other artists who are going to be there. We had Draze here. What's the other guy's name who was here? Anthony Cole. And there's King Kaka. There's who else is supposed to be on this?
Eddy Kenzo.
Eddy Kenzo as well. There's a whole plethora. They may also be local US artists who are going to perform.
DJ Poison Ivy.
DJ Poison Ivy is going to be the headline DJ in New York to start it off. And Poison Ivy does not play. If you don't know who Poison Ivy is by now, you will know when you go for the Madaraka Festival. Yep. And they may possibly just end up having her in every city. You never know. So this thing is something that is
sorry, but it's not like
moving.
It's not like the Mavericks are in the playoffs. But sorry,
really.
Oh, sorry.
Poison Ivy. Those are not my comments. Those are OneMic's comments, and they are not affiliated with the show. And so, kwa hayo machache, I will see you guys the week after next. I just want to reiterate, we are not here next week. We apologize in advance, but the week after next, we'll be here and we'll even chambua for you what happened that week, why we did not come.
Yes.
Yes, because kutakuwa na vile.
Yeah.
And DC is going to be very, very, very busy.
It's going to be very active.
It's going to be extremely busy. We also have the there's Fete on the Saturday, Fete on Prime. This is the first one. There's also the Expo.
One Voice Consortium.
The One Voice Consortium has an expo, which is going to be bringing a lot of investors, people who potentially want to invest, may want to go to the One Voice Consortium and check out that link. Just go and Google it and see what it's all about. They're coming to DC. So there's going to be a lot of people in the DC area. It's a 3-day festival, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
When is the Embassy Weekend? Embassy Weekend is also happening sometime, and I think it might be that weekend. Yes. That's a weekend where you can go, like the way there's the one for restaurant weekend. So embassy weekend in DC, you can literally go walk into any embassy and they'll tell you about the country and they have, yes.
Okay. It's possible because it's also Cinco de Mayo.
Yes.
So,
okay.
Yes. So, nyinyi watu wa corona, mujipange na masavesa. It's, yani...
Slay and Washeke were just chilling.
They are welcome. I mean, to DC. In fact, that's actually the best time to come to DC.
Coronas.
Cerveza. So, with that said, thank you to our guests. Javan has thrown me for a loop. I'm still processing. Ali, good move. Even though we're still going to see you outside.
Behind the tent.
Yes.
Behind the tent. Yeah, we'll follow Javan's advice.
At Boston. Anyway, yeah, tuonane next week. Not next week, the week after. And enjoy yourselves. Hug your loved ones. Kesho is not promised. Support watu wenyu nyumbani. Vitu ni mbaya. Kuna sijui mamvua sahi, which has, in fact, I think it's even destroyed the crop. So we went from drought to rain
to floods.
Now we are not gonna see any harvest. This is a very interesting thing, but anyway, kaende peace.
All right, asante sana DJ OmoshFaya, and thank you to all those who tuned in tonight. A big shout out to Simon Javan Okelo, the founder of Madaraka Festival, for coming on the show tonight and breaking down what Madaraka Festival is, because people were seeing these flyers and they did not understand the magnitude of what this is about. So asante sana, Simon Javan Okelo. Thank you to Draze, the artist from Zimbabwe. Thank you to Anthony Cole, the Trinidadian artist. A very diverse set that we had today. Asanteni sana. And remember to go to madarakafestival.com to get your tickets. There's other venues that are going to be announced. So just keep checking the website to find out if Madaraka Festival will be coming to a city near you. And if not, make a road trip. Those 4 cities, you have to be living at least 100 miles close to one of them. Come and see Dallas, New York. Come and see New York, Atlanta. Come and see Atlanta, Seattle, Washington. So make sure you do that. And asante sana to all those who are tuned in. We would not be here without you. Na kwa hayo machache, yeyote ambaye anataka kunipigia simu, nambari yangu bado ni ile 1-800 mteule. Operator akishika simu, mwambie unataka kusema na mjukuu. Na akikuuliza ni mjukuu yupi, mkumbushe ni mjukuu yule wa Masai. Because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui, na sibagui. Kwaherini.
Aiden, Daddy loves you. Jerry, Daddy loves you. Nemo, Daddy loves you. Until the next time, be blessed.